The early end of the Second Ninja War gave several major powers a few more years to cultivate and recuperate. Konoha is taking advantage of the opportunity to develop rapidly, and several other major countries are not idle either. They are also developing, negotiating, and waiting. To the north of the Land of Fire, there is a country called the Land of Frost. This country is also a small country. It has no characteristics and not many people remember it. But if we say that this country was the battlefield of the Fourth World War, perhaps many people will remember it. This country is adjacent to the country of Taki, and also has the sea to the north. At this time, there was a huge ship on the sea. On the deck of the ship stood several ninjas with dark skin and wearing cloud forehead protectors. The leader among them is an old man. He has dark skin, long light yellow hair, and a long beard on his face. His dark muscles bulged, his body looked very tough, and there was a tattoo of the word thunder on his right shoulder. At this time, he was folding his hands and quietly looking at the sea to the west, thinking about something. The sea is calm, and occasionally a few seagulls fly over. Reikage-sama, everything is ready. A cloud ninja carrying a ninja sword said respectfully. Reikage? Yes, the old man is the third-generation Reikage with the title of the strongest spear and the strongest shield. AI. AI is not a name, but each generation of Reikage. The name of Kage. He is powerful, strong enough to fight with tailed beasts in hand-to-hand combat. The third Reikage nodded slightly. Let everyone rest for a while. Yes. Father, why do we come to the sea to see them? In the event of a conflict, this terrain will be very unfavorable to us. Standing behind the third Reikage, a young man who was 60 to 70% similar to him said with a puzzled expression. He is the son of the third Reikage and the future fourth Reikage. As a person with shadow potential, people, no matter how grumpy they are, can see this obvious problem. Although they Kumo ninja are good at using swords, their chakra attributes are mostly thunder. Water combat will undoubtedly have a major impact on them. Just like using water, it's like a master of escape fighting in the desert. After hearing his son's words, the third Reikage explained in a deep voice, this is not far from our land, and if we want to retreat, they can't stop us. Besides, if they agreed to meet here, wouldn't they have traveled a long distance? That's very sincere. That's right, hey? Here they come. The sky was as clear as a piece of blue paper, with a few thin white clouds floating in the wind as if they had been melted by the sun. Several tiny black spots suddenly appeared on the calm sea. The black dots are too far apart, but the face cannot be seen. However, the black dots fly, and they fly very fast. In less than a moment, the outline of the black dots can be vaguely seen. The black spots are people. 14 in total. The leader was a short old man wearing a red scarf and a green striped vest. Beside him was a strong man wearing a khaki uniform. Behind the two men were 12 subordinates. A group of 14 people, all flying in the air, looked extremely spectacular. How envious! This is not envy, it is simply jealousy. Yes, although I have heard of this ability for a long time, it is still incredible to see it with my own eyes. Looking at the dozens of people flying in the air, the Kumo ninjas were full of praise. After all, the ability to fly is rare in the entire ninja world. Especially this kind of flying ability that relies on one's own ability. There is no doubt that short people, the old man is Onaki, the third generation Tsuchikage of Iwa Ninja Village, and the strong man beside him is his son Huang-tu. Behind the two of them are the 12 elite Jonin of Iwa Ninja Village. After Onaki flew over, he did it for his subordinates. He made a stop gesture, and then looked at the third Reikage on the ship deck below. The third Reikage, asking you to meet me is really hard work. Onoki crossed his hands and said condescendingly. As soon as he finished speaking, the subordinates on both sides had already prepared a defensive posture. The third generation Reikage raised his head. With the relationship between our two countries, isn't hard work a matter of course? What do you think? Tsuchikage. Indeed, if it weren't for a very important matter, I wouldn't come here to negotiate with you again and again. What's at stake? The third Raikage and other cloud ninjas around him seemed to realize the seriousness of the matter. What is so important? He actually asked you, a movie star, to make a trip in person. The two countries are now in a hostile relationship. It is very dangerous for the shadows of the two sides to meet at this time. Therefore, their negotiations this time are the result of countless rejections and countless high-level discussions from both sides. And the time and place for the meeting were also carefully considered. Raikage, I won't say any more, but do you know Konoha's Orochimaru? Orochimaru. The third Raikage's eyes were slightly stern. Several other cloud ninjas also exchanged glances, and they all saw a hint of affirmation in each other's eyes. Of course I know this. He defeated Hanzo of the Hidden Rain Village and killed the third Kazekage. He is indeed an amazing guy. It seems that the information you have learned is only superficial. What's the meaning? The third Raikage frowned. Onoki said solemnly, Orochimaru is not as simple as he seems. Onoki shared the information he learned with the third Raikage without hesitation. Because of this battle, Cloud Ninja Village did not use troops against Konoha, so they only knew the results of the battle between Suna Ninja and Iwa Ninja, but did not know the battle process and other detailed information between the two countries. At this time, after hearing Onoki's story, all the Kumo ninjas showed surprise. Scientific research talent? Inventing the ninja tool. Open, are you kidding me? Yes, it's unimaginable. A young man in his 20s not only has strength beyond the film level, but also has strong research and development capabilities. The third Raikage subconsciously glanced at his son and subordinates, and then fell into deep thought. At this time, he also suddenly remembered that Konoha was aware that the person he sent to kidnap the Nine Tails seemed to be Orochimaru. Yes, I was surprised when I found out about it at the time. Onoki strikes while the iron is hot. Although we were a defeated country in this war, we still captured many prisoners during the war. If it weren't for these prisoners, we wouldn't know this information. The third Raikage slowly raised his head after thinking, so what? No matter how talented Orochimaru is, he is still a ninja of Konoha. What does it have to do with us? Don't you understand yet? Raikage. Onoki loudly said, Konoha has broken the balance of the 5 major countries because of the existence of Orochimaru. Otherwise, do you think that in this war, why do we, the Iwa Ninja, temporarily cease the war with the Sand Ninja? You Kumo Ninja are the only ones who are stupid enough to help Konoha attack us. Onoki smiled mockingly. Humph, if you hadn't joined in, how could our losses have been so heavy? Tsuchikage, please pay attention to your words. We used troops against you because we are originally allies with Konoha. Alliance? Onoki found it funny. Haha, you are the only one who considers Konoha to be an ally. Think about it for yourself, what benefits did you Kumo Ninja get from this war? Benefits? Hearing this, all the Kumo Ninjas, including the third Raikage, frowned. Yes, this war was originally a war between 3 other countries. They joined in because of the paper alliance. Contract. If we really want to talk about the benefits, it seems that except for the necessary war funds provided by Konoha, we got nothing. And we were questioned about plundering the Kyuubi after the war? This is indeed very unpleasant. Tsuchikage, tell me directly why you are here. The third Raikage said solemnly. Of course he knew that Onoki's invitation to him this time would not be to hold him accountable for using troops against them. Because the relationship between the two countries is not good to begin with, war is a normal thing. Therefore, Onoki must have another purpose. Onoki crossed his arms and seemed to be prepared. Stop the war between us and fight Konoha together. What? The one who spoke this time was not the third Raikage, but the fourth Raikage. He was very unhappy at this time. He had been fighting with the Iwa Ninja in full swing before, but now he has to give up the war with the IWA ninja and turn his attention to Konoha. Does Onoki regard their Kumo ninjas as capricious villains? Tsuchikage, are you kidding me? The third Raikage also asked in a deep voice. Do you think I would joke about something like this? Onoki sneered. Konoha has to break the balance between our big countries first, and it will only be a matter of time before we use troops against you. If you don't want to be destroyed without knowing it, you'd better consider my suggestion. Let's work together to put pressure on Konoha. Even if we can't start a war now, we must at least let them hand over Orochimaru first. In the ninja world, it is normal for big countries to bully small countries and strong countries to bully weak countries. Those small countries are also trying to survive in the cracks of big countries. This is also an indisputable fact. There are many reasons why small countries can survive. Some form alliances with big powers, some rely on their own powerful secret techniques, and some rely on terrain. In short, they have become a difficult nut to crack in the ninja world. The great powers were constantly fighting and had no time to chew these bones, so they were able to survive. There were originally gaps between the 5 major nations, but after the first Hokage founded Konoha, in order to maintain the balance among the major nations, the 9-tailed beasts were divided. This creates a wonderful balance between the big powers. This is also the most important reason why the 5 major countries have been fighting for so long. Anyway, I have a tailed beast, and it will be difficult for you to destroy me, so let's just waste it. It's just that everyone was evenly matched, and no matter how powerful Konoha was, it would be difficult to truly destroy one of them, but the appearance of Orochimaru made them feel threatened. You know, the main strength of Orochimaru in the original work is reflected in his ability to survive that is comparable to Xiao Qiang, and his own combat effectiveness is not even comparable to that of an ordinary Kage level. Killing the 4th Kazekage was accomplished with the hard work of Kimimaro and others. In a duel with the elderly 3rd Hokage, they were almost killed. He couldn't even defeat a 4-tailed Naruto. But now, he has super shadow level strength. Not only can he save a battlefield by himself, he can also single-handedly kill the 3rd generation of Kazekage on the battlefield. This piece of news alone is enough to make them feel threatened. Not to mention the scientific research results that can improve the combat effectiveness of the entire village. They believed that if it continued to develop for a few years, Konoha would be able to annex any large ninja village with the help of Orochimaru. This is completely predictable. Maybe this ability already exists in Konoha now. Unless this person is removed, they will have trouble sleeping and eating. Just trying to deal with Orochimaru is not an easy task. Not to mention whether Konoha will hand over Orochimaru, the current alliance of several countries will be greatly hindered. Would the Kumo ninja agree to deal with Konoha just because of Onoki's one-sided words? Obviously impossible. Therefore, the 3rd Raikage only agreed to consider Onoki's proposal but did not make an immediate decision. Because he knew that even if he really wanted to deal with Konoha, he would have to find a suitable reason. And Onoki naturally knew that this kind of matter would not be decided for a while, so he was not in a hurry. Anyway, I have already waited for a lot of time, and I don't care about this little time anymore. On the other side, Orochimaru didn't know that several other major countries were planning to join forces to deal with him. Maybe even if he knew, he wouldn't because of his strong strength, which always gives people confidence. With his current strength, even if there are only a few of them, it is impossible to defeat him. After all, the role of Flying Thunder God is there. If you can't fight hard, why can't you run away? What? Isn't it true that the 2nd Hokage, the Flying Thunder God, is dead? That one is to lure the enemy, can it be the same? If you just use the Flying Thunder God to run away, can you still lure the enemy? As long as these first batch of little ghosts survive the last half hour, the experiment will be considered a success. In the secret laboratory, looking at the 8 experimental chambers filled with potions in front of him, Orochimaru spoke calmly. Genetic modification is not difficult for the current Orochimaru at all. What should I do if the power of the first Hokage is too strong? Weaken it. That's great. What should I do if the child's physique is too weak to withstand this kind of power? Just strengthen it. It's not easy to create a batch of inferior wood release owners under the circumstances. I heard Danzo nodded with satisfaction at Orochimaru's words. Judging from their life signs, there should be no problem. Orochimaru, your abilities are really eye-opening. These are 8 wood release owners. As long as this kind of brat is carefully cultivated, his combat power will definitely be able to easily enter the ranks of elite Jonin when he grows up. It's just a trivial matter. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. If you need it, I can also let them have Sharingan. Sharingan paired with wood release? It is definitely an extremely powerful blood inheritance combination. This combination of abilities is more powerful than Orochimaru's clones. But Orochimaru doesn't care, anyway, the number of such children is limited, no matter how awesome they are. No comparison to his army of clones. I don't need the Sharingan anymore, I don't even have enough of this kind of thing. Danzo refused directly. Let's not talk about whether the Sharingan is enough. Whether he can control so many children with such powerful power is a question worth considering. Orochimaru smiled lightly and expressed his understanding. Danzo-sama, this is bad. The voice of a root ninja suddenly sounded outside the stone door. Danzo frowned and asked through the stone door, what's wrong? We discovered the whereabouts of other ninjas. What? Danzo's expression changed. Take me to see it. Danzo left quickly, and in less than 10 minutes, he turned around again. Orochimaru, something might be wrong. Has it been discovered? Good. But it's important, the other party seems to have just left not long ago. When he reports the situation, Sarutobi will organize people to come over. We are finished here. It's just a pity this laboratory. There is no way. Danzo took a deep breath. You go first and leave the rest to me. Although he already knows that I have contact with you, he can't let him get the handle. 2. Orochimaru smiled faintly, and without saying much, he packed up his tools and walked out of the secret laboratory. When he came to a location where others could not see him, he disappeared directly. As for Danzo, since he decided to do this experiment, he was naturally well prepared. As long as Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't come in person, other ninjas would not dare to investigate in front of Danzo. Therefore, he is confident. After the children's experiment was over, he directly ordered his subordinates to take away the 8 children, then set up a soundproof barrier around the experimental base and filled it with detonating symbols. Boom boom boom. The laboratories were all reduced to rubble. The last few Earth Escape ninjas used Earth Escape at the same time, and the already destroyed laboratory quickly sank into the ground and was buried forever. Does Sarutobi Hiruzen know about Danzo's little tricks? Obviously impossible. It's just that the relationship between the two is a bit delicate. As long as Danzo doesn't do too much, Sarutobi Hiruzen will turn a blind eye even if he knows. Because he knew very well that it would be of no benefit to anyone if he and Danzo broke up. And although he has different ideas from Danzo, Danzo's current work is mainly to protect Konoha and will not do anything detrimental to Konoha's interests. This was one of the most important reasons why he ignored Danzo. What's more, the person who discovered Danzo this time was not Sarutobi Hiruzen. On the streets of Konoha, the ninja with shawl white hair walked slowly forward with a solemn expression. It was evening now, but he had just returned from a mission with his teammates. It's strange, it's so late, why are Danzo-sama's subordinates there? Shouldn't this time be rest time? He was a little confused, but he didn't dare to think too much now. After all, Danzo's status in Konoha is extremely high, and besides the Hokage, he is basically the only one who doubts his superiors. Generally ninjas don't dare, they don't have the guts. Even if he is now an elite jounin. So, after thinking for a moment, he shook his head and put these things behind him. Anyway, a person of Danzo's level has a lot of thoughts. It's not something they can figure out. Well, uncle. A little girl's voice suddenly sounded, interrupting his meditation. He slowly turned his head and saw a little Lolita with short black hair about 4 years old, holding a bunch of meatballs in her hand and staring at him in surprise. It turns out to be Shizuan. Haha, did you run out to buy meatballs alone? Yes. There's nothing to eat at home, and I'm a little hungry again, so. Shizuan said a little aggrievedly. Yeah? Kato Swan smiled slightly. Uncle, can I buy you 2 more skewers? Okay, okay. Shizuan was very happy. After Kato Duan paid the money, he took 2 more skewers and handed them to Shizuan, only to find that Shizuan was looking into the distance in a daze. He subconsciously followed Shizuan's gaze and immediately saw the old Jianying who was thinking about her day and night. But at this time, she was holding her husband's hand and walking on the street. Seeing Kato Dan, Tsunade was a little embarrassed. She subconsciously glanced at Orochimaru beside her, but found that Orochimaru doesn't have any special expression, just his eyes. Are you looking at that little girl? Orochimaru seems to be really interested in little girls. Kato Dan smiled and nodded towards the 2 of them. Tsunade nodded in return. The 2 sides passed each other without much interaction. However, Orochimaru saw Kato Dan's full armor, and Kato Dan also felt Orochimaru's indifference towards him. When they were far away, Tsunade said, "Hey, Orochimaru, why do you keep staring at that little girl? Do you like little girls very much?" "No." Orochimaru smiled faintly. "I just suddenly found it very interesting." Shizuan was originally supposed to become Tsunade's disciple after Kato Dan's death. But now, Tsunade has nothing to do with Kato Dan, and naturally she has nothing to do with Shizuan. In other words, Shizuan can't become Tsunade's disciple? Interesting. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Tsunade was even more curious. "You have never seen that little girl, what's the point? It's hard to explain this to you. Anyway, forget it, you'd better think about what outfit to wear tonight." A playful smile appeared on Orochimaru's lips. The 2 have slept together for such a long time and have been married for a long time. What kind of position have you not tried? That's really not the case. After being together for a long time, we are no longer so positive about certain things, so we need to use some props to add fun. Various customized clothes are a good choice. Every time I change my clothes and style, it's like changing my wife. Well. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then her face turned red. I think my body type is not suitable for wearing cheongsam. Although the clothes were custom made, they still couldn't be buttoned. Who made you grow so big? How? Do you dislike me? You said you liked it very much at first. Facing Tsunade's question, Orochimaru didn't know what to say for a while. Because he has only heard of being too small, but never heard of being too big? Are there such people in this world? At least Orochimaru is not. Report to Hokage-sama, we have received information that many children from the surrounding villages have disappeared for no reason. Konoha village, Hokage's office. A Konoha ninja half knelt in front of the 3rd Hokage, reporting the contents of this mission. The 3rd Hokage was holding the mission scroll, looking at the content on it, frowning and thinking about something. After a moment, he blew out a smoke ring. Are they all children? Has the number of missing people reached more than 20 people? Yes, Hokage-sama. Well, I understand, I will arrange for someone to check. You go down. Yes. The Konoha ninja left. After the 3rd Hokage pondered for a moment, he decisively sent a group of Hokage Direct ANBU to go there. For some reason, he always felt that something was wrong. Late at night, 12 o'clock. Heavily armed with equipment, his feet covered in dirt from outside the village. Orochimaru recalled the scene just now, and he was lost in thought. That person couldn't be you, right? Kato Dan. This period is quite special for him, so he is also very careful. Because he has the flying thunder god, he will definitely return to Konoha before that person. After he came back, he took Tsunade out directly on the pretext of going shopping. Then he saw Kato Dan coming from the direction of the village entrance. Therefore, he had reason to suspect that the person was Kato Dan. However, if the person who discovered the secret laboratory was Kato Dan, Orochimaru would not be worried. Because without the Hokage's order, he would not dare to investigate such a thing. Forget it, just to be on the safe side, let's get what we want first. Hiss, Tsunade, please be gentle, you bit me. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Tsunade looked apologetic. Orochimaru curled up his lips. It's okay, you can continue. As he said that, Orochimaru reached out his hand to Tsunade's head and pressed it gently. Aren't you tired of this guy yet? How could you get tired of this kind of thing? You know, the woman I am having sex with is you, Tsunade Hime. Tsunade Hime, one of the three ninjas, at this time, she is definitely considered to be the best. She is young and beautiful, lively and active, with a height of 163 centimeters, and a figure that should be convex and curvy. Except for her model, which is more exaggerated than that of ordinary women, other parts are very standard. Especially after passing through the hands of Orochimaru. Orochimaru still remembers how much effort he spent on Tsunade, from being passive at the beginning to being active later, and from being active later to being unrestrained now. Tsunade's face turned red when Orochimaru teased her, but she still lowered her head and continued to smoke. Having been with Orochimaru for so many years, she knew Orochimaru's favorite ways. And they often let her wear some weird clothes. Although she was curious about where Orochimaru learned these special quirks, after being developed by Orochimaru, she also liked Orochimaru letting her do these things. In short, Tsunade felt that Orochimaru was a little too changed on the one hand, but also enjoyed it very much. This was a very strange feeling. More than half an hour later, Tsunade was nestled in Orochimaru's arms. Orochimaru, have you ever had any thoughts about that little girl Mikoto? Do you want to hear the truth or lies? Of course it's the truth. It has indeed happened before. Orochimaru didn't deny it at all. Because he didn't need to deny it. Tsunade had asked about this matter before. He also expressed his inner thoughts without any concealment. What about now? There is now too. Orochimaru said calmly. However, there should be no hope. Why? Tsunade was puzzled. I think she likes you quite a lot. If you hook your fingers at her, she will definitely throw herself into your arms. Hearing this, Orochimaru was a little surprised. Why do you have such an idea? Isn't it because of you? Tsunade complained. If you hadn't said it in front of me, how could I have done this? Hey, Orochimaru, how about, are you going to try it? Ha ha ha. Orochimaru smiled. I never knew that I had the talent to teach women harmony. Don't talk about useless things. Are you going or not? Tsunade shook Orochimaru's arm. Do not make jokes. Orochimaru became more serious. Although I can give up my reputation, you can't give up. Okay, go to sleep. Can't your mind think about anything serious all day long? Isn't it enough to have you on business? Tsunade lay down on her back, resting her head on her hands, and said matter-of-factly. Orochimaru is now her husband, and his strength and ability are so strong that she, one of the three ninjas, would not be of much use. Otherwise it's impossible for her to think about how to spend her time better all day long. However, Orochimaru is right. Let him go to Mikoto to play? It would be fine if no one knew, but it would be very embarrassing if the matter was revealed at. Isn't that right? What's wrong with me? I'm stunned. How can I share my man with another woman? And it's my own initiative. Oh my god, I must be crazy. Tsunade subconsciously glanced at Orochimaru lying next to him. Is it an illusion? Impossible. Even if it was Orochimaru's ability that he used genjutsu on him, there was no way he wouldn't be aware of it at all. Tsunade thought for a long time and couldn't find any clue, so she shook her head, quickly threw her thoughts behind her, and pulled the quilt. Early the next morning, on the street outside the Uchiha clan, two figures stood facing each other. Today, Tsunade went to the hospital to help, and Orochimaru came here out of boredom. Mikoto, you agreed to take over Tsunade's mission because you asked me for help with something, right? After Orochimaru arrived here, he found Uchiha Mikoto and said straight to the point. When Uchiha Mikoto came to clean his house for the first time, Orochimaru had already noticed something strange. Later, she came one after another, let alone Orochimaru. Even a ninja with extremely low alertness can tell that something is wrong. But Mikoto didn't say anything, and Orochimaru didn't bother to ask. But now? Yes, yes. Uchiha Mikoto nodded timidly. She did not deny it, because she knew that she did not have the ability to lie in front of Orochimaru. At the same time, she also knew that with Orochimaru's character, she might have a greater chance of admitting it directly. Orochimaru smiled slightly. Let's go, let's find a place to chat. Well? Sir, you. Just follow me. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. Although he didn't know what happened to Mikoto, it shouldn't be a big deal for Uchiha to send her to get close to him. Uchiha Mikoto was a little surprised, but she still followed Orochimaru silently after Maru. She had gone to the battlefield with Orochimaru before. Orochimaru taught her a lot and even saved her twice. So her feelings towards Orochimaru were somewhat complicated. However, Orochimaru is now married, and he could only bury his emotions in his heart. Orochimaru was speechless all the way, and took Uchiha Mikoto to the open space on the right side of Hokage Rock. Okay, here it is. Orochimaru stopped, slowly turned around and looked at the gentle girl in front of him. Mikoto, you have been with me for a while, you should know that I don't like to beat around the bush. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Then tell me about your task. If it's not particularly complicated, I wouldn't mind helping you. Thank you, sir. The thing is like this. Following Orochimaru's questioning, Uchiha Mikoto also revealed the mission given to her by her father. Just hearing this mission, Orochimaru couldn't help but be stunned. Strengthening fluid. Yes, sir, according to what my father said, the strengthening liquid can help the tribe better control the Sharingan, so I have no choice but to. Uchiha Mikoto didn't finish her sentence, but she believed that Orochimaru could understand what she meant. Is it because people with open eyes tend to go to extremes emotionally? Orochimaru raised his lips. Haha, it seems that your Uchiha clan is also divided into two factions. Is your father the peace-loving one? Yes, yes, my lord. Uchiha Mikoto replied with some surprise. Now that she is 18 years old, she is naturally very clear about the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the village and the conflicts within the Uchiha. But now, Orochimaru seems to know better than her? Sure enough, Orochimaru is Maru-sama omnipotent? Is that true? Orochimaru kept a meaningful smile. But there is one thing I am still curious about. Are your family members so sure that I still have strengthening fluid? The conflict between the Uchiha clan and the village is basically known to the adult ninjas of the Uchiha clan. It's just that even within their family, their internal opinions are not unified. After all, people are different. Some people love peace and feel that it is good to coexist peacefully with the village. There is no need to fight to the death with Konoha for the position of village chief. But some people are not willing to be inferior to others. They feel that the village also has their Uchiha, and Uchiha should be the Hokage. This conflict is actually the same as the conflict among Konoha's top brass. However, the current conflict between Uchiha and Konoha is not particularly big, so there are currently more Lord Harmony factions. And because Uchiha's Sharingan is easily affected by emotions, the tribe's thoughts become extreme. Therefore, in order to ensure the peaceful coexistence of Uchiha in the village, these peace factions hope that the war factions can better control their Sharingan and not do anything extraordinary. In the past, they had no choice but to let nature take its course, but the emergence of Orochimaru made everything possible. That's why Uchiha Mikoto came to contact Orochimaru. Because the relationship between Orochimaru and the Uchiha clan started with Uchiha Mikoto. Except for Uchiha Mikoto, no one else would have the chance to get close to Orochimaru, let alone learn these secrets. Hearing Orochimaru's question, Uchiha Mikoto felt a little embarrassed. This, my father said that adults are not the kind of people who leave no room for themselves, so... Oh? Orochimaru was a little surprised. Haha, your father is really interesting. Although this sentence sounds a bit unpleasant, it is indeed a fact. Then, my lord. Actually, Mikoto. Orochimaru interrupted Mikoto. The conflict between your family and the village cannot be solved by a few bottles of strengthening fluid, but since you ask, I can give you a few to use first. Really, grown-ups? Certainly. Orochimaru smiled meaningfully. But you have to do something for me. Sir, please speak. Who? Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito? In the afternoon, the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Akiera was completely stunned. Yes, Dad. Doesn't he have any other requirements? He couldn't believe his ears. Does Orochimaru have such low requirements? No. Uchiha Mikoto said, I have said long ago that Orochimaru-sama is easy to talk to, but you want me to use this method to get close to him. Now I feel that. What do you know? I asked you to get close to him not only for this reason. Well? Dad, what do you mean? What else could it mean? Shiha Akiera sat down and said in a deep voice, in the Uchiha clan, only you can have the opportunity to get closer to him. There is no point in saying this now, I will inform the clan leader first. Oh, by the way, who is Obito Uchiha? Is there such a person in our clan? This, Uchiha Mikoto was also a little confused. I haven't heard of it either, but Lord Orochimaru said that he saw him once, a child of several years old, and he thought this child seemed to have a good talent. Yet, Uchiha Akiera looked suspicious. Why do you feel that Orochimaru knows Uchiha better than he, a core member of Uchiha? Shaking his head and no longer thinking, Uchiha Akiera quickly found his clan leader. When he told Uchiha Soyama what he said and called Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito to the front, they suddenly felt that there was something wrong with Orochimaru's vision. Uchiha Fugaku, now almost 22 years old, has talent and family status. They are both very tall, and they have already been decided to be the next clan leader. His talent is indeed good, and there is nothing wrong with Orochimaru wanting to study his genes. But who is the 4 or 5-year-old boy next to him with a confused look on his face? That careless and stupid look, this is also called talent? Is there anyone who bullies my Uchiha? Is your name really Uchiha Obito? Gudu. Yes, Uncle Akiera. Uchiha Obito swallowed and said nervously. He is just an ordinary member of the Uchiha clan, and is still a kid less than 5 years old. The clan leader suddenly wants to meet him alone, which makes him feel flattered. Did he commit some irreparable mistake, and the clan leader wanted to punish him? But how could Uchiha Zongshan have time to spare him? He checked Obito's situation again and again, and then nodded. Uchiha did not pay attention. Name, so Uchiha Obito could only be him. So, in Uchiha Obito's horrified eyes, Uchiha Akiera took a tube of his blood. The next morning, Orochimaru's house. Orochimaru took 2 blood vessels filled with blood and spoke slowly. Inheritance, there is a saying of inheritance across generations, and the genes of the Uchiha clan are no exception. Hearing this, Tsunade sitting next to her was thoughtful. In other words, although the parents cannot awaken the Sharingan, it is still possible for their son to awaken. Good. According to the information given by the Uchiha clan, this person named Uchiha Obito doesn't seem to be that powerful after his grandfather's generation. This Uchiha Obito must have a genetic mutation. Orochimaru continued to explain. Sometimes, when two ordinary genes are combined together, it is possible to merge into an advanced gene, but the probability is very low. That's it. Tsunade nodded to express her understanding. She is now the only one who knows about Orochimaru's abilities, so the two of them often discuss some issues in this area in private. By the way, Orochimaru, your power now exceeds that of your teacher. Have you ever thought about becoming Hokage? No. Orochimaru spoke bluntly. He put away the two blood samples, put them into a different space and spoke again. Some people are suitable to be generals, and some people are suitable to be staff officers. You use staff officers to charge into battle, and let generals make suggestions, but the result is only can backfire on you. You should understand what I mean, right? Don't you just want to say that you are not suitable to be Hokage? I see. Tsunade smiled. Then, if our village were to run for the next Hokage, who would be the most suitable person besides you? Of course it's you. What? I. Tsuna pointed at herself, obviously a little unresponsive. You, don't joke with me, okay? I was serious. I'm serious too. Orochimaru suddenly raised his lips. Don't you think it's interesting to be Hokage? Let your wife be Hokage? This kind of thing is really interesting. Because for Orochimaru, being a Hokage man is more fulfilling than being Hokage. And in my memory, Tsunade was originally the Hokage, so there was nothing wrong with that. Why is the fourth Hokage in the original work Minato Namikaze? In fact, it only takes a little thought to figure it out. It stands to reason that if Hiruzen Sarutobi really abdicates, the position of Hokage will definitely be inherited by his son or apprentice. However, at that time, his eldest son died and his second son, Asuma, was still young, so he could only choose one of his apprentices, the legendary Sunin, for this position. Sarutobi Hiruzen's most proud disciple is Orochimaru. As long as Orochimaru develops normally, he will definitely be the next Hokage. There's no telling. To say it is ironclad is an understatement. It's a pity that Orochimaru followed Danzo for his own ambitions, so he could only exclude Orochimaru. As for the remaining two disciples, Tsunade lost her brother and lover, and was trapped by love. After the Third War, she left Konoha and wandered around. Jiraiya likes to travel around the world, and at the same time, he also left Konoha in order to find the Son of Prophecy. Therefore, he has no one available at all. As a last resort, the position could only be passed on to Jiraiya's disciple, his disciple, Namikaze Minato. Because Namikaze Minato has the same philosophy as him and can listen to him. He is the only candidate and the most suitable candidate. But things are different now. Tsunade's brother is not dead, and he doesn't know Kato Dan. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen will definitely be wary of Tsunade because of Orochimaru, Tsunade has a higher chance of becoming Hokage than Namikaze Minato. You guy, stop joking. Tsunade said casually. How can I be qualified to be Hokage? Moreover, which village have you seen where the shadow is of a woman? Tsunade's words made Orochimaru speechless for a moment. The future fifth Hokage actually said that he was not qualified to be Hokage? This is simply. However, she seems to be right about one thing, right? No matter which country they are in, all the movies in the past have been made by men, and there has never been a single woman. Originally, the first female Kage in the ninja world was supposed to be Terumi Mei, the fifth Mizukage of the Land of Water. But now, Terumi Mei is only a few years old. Okay, you have a point. Orochimaru shook his head and did not argue about this matter. After all, the third Hokage is young and strong and has not made any big mistakes. It is really too early to talk about changing Hokages. He chatted with Tsunade again. After a few words, Orochimaru stopped talking. Instead, he focused on the two Manjiki genes. The Sharingan has powerful spiritual power, and the Manjiki Sharingan contains even more powerful spiritual power. But I don't know, these two can a gene be fused with his own genes to produce a qualitative change in his mental power, so that his mental power can reach the level of an eternal kaleidoscope? Orochimaru is not sure about this. However, what he is sure of is that he can help Nagato activate the Samsara Eye is definitely enough. After all, upgrading and activation are two. June of the 39th year of Konoha. Orochimaru and Tsunade have been married for exactly 3 years. This year, the two are 29 years old. During this time, Orochimaru didn't go anywhere except helping Danzo complete the experiment. The number of completed experiments has increased from more than 20 to more than 60 people, and more than 30 children are being cultivated. This year, Kakashi and Metkai's class have just begun to enroll. It was also in this year that the third Hokage received a message from the Kingdom of Thunder. Looking at the content of the scroll in his hand, and then looking at the content of the scroll next to him, he smoked one cigarette after another without stopping. "What's wrong, Sarutobi?" Several consultants came to the conference room. Seeing Sarutobi's appearance, they couldn't help but ask. "See for yourselves." Sarutobi threw the 3 scrolls together to the 3 of them. Mito Katoyan was a little confused and took the lead in picking up one of them and looking at it carefully. After a while, he looked surprised. "Will the Kingdom of Thunder dissolve its alliance with us?" "How so?" "Yes, isn't it always safe and sound?" Xiao Chun was also stunned when he went to bed. Since the help of the Kingdom of Thunder in World War II, the relationship between the two countries has been good, and there are also trade exchanges. "Have you forgotten what happened 3 months ago?" The third Hokage sighed helplessly and continued to smoke. "Hokage is not easy to do, Alexander." 3 months ago? Danzo frowned. "Hey, that's ridiculous. I think this is just an excuse for them to dissolve the alliance. Even if we know it's an excuse, what can we do?" The third generation sighed helplessly. 3 months ago, there was a letter from the Kingdom of Thunder. The meaning of the letter was that they suffered a lot in the last war, and Konoha is too powerful now. In order to promote the alliance between the two countries, let Konoha will share some of the research results. "Share? Share your sister? Who will share the technology of his village with other countries?" Naturally, Konoha will not agree to this, so the Kingdom of Thunder took advantage of the situation and directly dissolved with Konoha as the top leaders of Konoha. They naturally have high political acumen, and they soon realized that this was just an excuse for the Kingdom of Thunder to dissolve the alliance. As for the reason, why do they want to dissolve their alliance with us? You will understand after looking at the other 2 scrolls. Hearing this, Xiao Chun immediately picked up the other 2 scrolls after turning to bed. "What? Have their 3 villages formed an alliance? How so?" Mito Katoyan didn't want to believe his own judgment. Danzo also narrowed his eyes. The conflict between them is so deep. How is it possible to form an alliance? It's because of Orochimaru. Looking at the scroll in his hand, Xiao Chun's Wanzi understood the whole story. Orochimaru. Going to bed, Koharu nodded. Orochimaru's performance in the last war was too eye-catching, killing Kazekage with snipers, dominating the battlefield, and most importantly, his ability can help the village become stronger. They are afraid that Konoha will become too powerful and affect their interests, so they need to nip this possibility in the bud. Is this the reason for their alliance? Yes, the letter is very clear. Let us hand over Orochimaru, otherwise we will face the siege of 3 ninja villages. What? What a bastard! As soon as they heard that 3 large ninja villages were going to besiege Konoha, the 4 top leaders of Konoha became a little irritable. Don't look at the original Third Ninja War. Konoha won the war with 1 enemy against 4. But in fact, that time was just a battle between the 4 countries. First the Suna ninja, then the Iwa ninja. When the Suna ninja was about to retreat, the Kumo ninja joined in. After the Suna ninja and the Iwa ninja retreated, Kirigakure joined the battle. This feeling is similar to the Calabash baby saving grandpa and sending them one by one. And the four countries did not form an alliance because of this. It can be said that Konoha has almost never faced attacks from three countries at the same time. But even so, Konoha was severely injured by the four countries. Even 7- and 8-year-old children couldn't wait to be dragged to the battlefield to fight. You can imagine the tragedy of the three ninja wars. But in Konoha now, the batch of Kakashi Metkai has just entered school. Let alone 1-on-3 in Konoha, even 1-on-2 is a bit difficult. During the previous World War II, if it hadn't been for the sudden rise of Hatake Sakumo and Orochimaru, and the help from Kumo Ninja, Konoha would have definitely faced heavy losses. So this time, sacrifice one of him and bring happiness to thousands of families. This is what the other major ninja villages want. Is it to sacrifice Orochimaru alone in exchange for temporary peace? Or sacrifice tens of thousands of people to resist the attack of three villages? Konoha needs to make a choice. On the other side, in Orochimaru's own house. At this time, he had no idea about this matter. Because he was focusing his eyes on the shy girl in front of him. The girl has long hair shawl, wearing a white t-shirt and shorts, kneeling in front of him, looking shy. Mikoto, are you serious? Looking at the girl's appearance, Orochimaru couldn't help but ask. He was very unbelievable. Because he couldn't believe that Mikoto actually confessed to a married man? Yes, my lord. I have always liked adults. Mikoto's voice is as thin as a mosquito. Her face turned red and she looked ashamed. Orochimaru was not in a hurry, picked up the cup on the table, and took a sip of tea made by Mikoto. Did Tsunade do something to you? This is none of Tsunade-sama's business, it's my own. Yet. Orochimaru smiled faintly. Only at this moment did he understand that finding a lover can really start by teaching harmony to your wife. Of course, the premise is that you have a wife who is willing to let you teach harmony. During this time, Tsunade found things for Uchiha Mikoto to do every now and then. Sometimes it was cleaning, sometimes teaching tea making, and sometimes teaching cooking. Anyway, no matter what the task, she always called Mikoto over. Do it. So Orochimaru would see this Uchiha Mikoto every now and then. And I don't know when, Uchiha Mikoto started to look at her strangely. At first, she just peeked frequently, and then when she saw him since then, his face has turned red. Orochimaru was very curious about this. When asked Tsunade why, Tsunade didn't say anything. If Orochimaru hadn't been monitoring and stealing, he really didn't know that Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto were chatting in private. The topic is so dirty. What can be eaten? What posture makes you feel the most? What position should not be touched? Just touch it. Oh my god, Orochimaru really can't believe that Tsunade was taught like this by his own harmony. At first, Mikoto could turn a deaf ear, but Tsunade was a top-notch medical ninja. She casually talked about some medical knowledge, and Mikoto soon became serious. And I can occasionally reply to the previous sentence. After the two got acquainted, Tsunade directly talked about her problems. She once said frankly that she didn't mind Mikoto liking her. Mikoto had always liked Orochimaru. After hearing what Tsunade said, although the woman's reserve made her refuse verbally, she still had some thoughts in her heart. Until one day, Tsunade gave her a small amount of special pharmaceutical powder. That day, Tsunade controlled the dose very well. Although she didn't do anything to her, her mind was filled with Orochimaru's figure. As a result, Uchiha Mikoto fell. Yes, without Orochimaru taking action, Tsunade would do it for him. For Orochimaru, this is indeed a thing that destroys his outlook on life. Come here. Orochimaru hooked his finger at Mikoto. Yes, yes, grown-ups, Uchiha Mikoto answered respectfully, then slowly walked to Orochimaru and sat down. Orochimaru stretched out his index finger and lifted Mikoto's chin, with a faint smile on his lips. To be honest, I have never tried a woman other than Tsunade. Big, grown-ups. Look at me. Orochimaru's magnetic voice is full of magic. Uchiha Mikoto raised her head subconsciously, eyes full of admiration. Looking at Uchiha Mikoto like this, Orochimaru kept smiling. Have you really decided? Uchiha Mikoto didn't speak, but the shy expression that wanted to turn her head away again was enough to explain everything. Orochimaru understood, and directly let go of his hand, and picked her up in a cross hug. Mikoto panicked, but surprisingly, he didn't struggle too much. Instead, he hooked Orochimaru's neck with his white arms. Feeling that he was much lighter than Tsunade, there was a hint of playfulness in Orochimaru's smile. Haha, this woman Tsunade is so interesting. Click. As soon as he finished speaking, the door and window of the bedroom closed automatically. This is a very strange feeling. He and Uchiha Mikoto did not have any emotional foundation between men and women, but at this time, a man only needs his body's instinct. No, what kind of emotional basis is needed? Anyway, Tsunade acquiesced, and he had no sense of guilt. At the same time, the Thousand Hands clan. Looking in the direction of Orochimaru's mansion, Tsunade let out a long sigh. What's wrong? Sister, did you have a fight with your brother-in-law? The adult Naoki looked at Tsunade standing at the window wearing a purple coat, and couldn't help but be curious. Tsunade came back to her senses. No, don't talk nonsense. If not, why would you come back? Naoshi looked confused. Don't you only go back to your home when you have a quarrel? If you say no, it means no. When did you, kid, talk so much nonsense? Go and get your sleep. Tsunade couldn't help laughing and scolded. Hehe, I'm going to bed then, you can do whatever you want. After being yelled at by his sister, Naoki smiled coquettishly and did not dare to say anything. He obediently returned to his room and turned off the light to sleep. Facing Tsunade, even if he was a jonin now, he still did not dare to talk back. See Naoki after the tree left, Tsunade let out a sigh of relief, lay down by the windowsill again, and looked in the direction of Orochimaru's mansion. Although I feel very unhappy, I know you'll love me more if you do this, right? Orochimaru. Tsunade murmured to herself, seeming to have thought about this decision for a long time. Whether it is in terms of thoughts or living habits. Tsunade knew Orochimaru and what Orochimaru was thinking, so she did this. For her, instead of worrying about it all day long, it would be more satisfying to just get it done. And Orochimaru also knew Tsunade, so it was not surprising to him that Tsunade did this. The only thing that made him a little curious might be the relationship between Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Fugaku. It turns out that both of them are descendants of core members of Uchiha, so their union can be said to be in accordance with destiny. But it seems that he has had an impact on their future since they were young, which Orochimaru never expected. And according to what Uchiha Mikoto said, Uchiha Fugaku is now in love with a man named Uchiha Keiko? This is even more unexpected. Of course, one has to ask if Orochimaru feels guilty for bullying a little girl? That's definitely not the case. After all, in his memory, the age gap between those who found goddaughters in his previous life was much greater than that between him and Mikoto. None of them felt guilty, so how could Orochimaru feel guilty? Although this is your first time, your body is too weak. Early the next morning, looking at the petite girl with the quilt pulled beside him, Orochimaru said calmly. Hug, sorry, Orochimaru-sama. No need to say sorry. Orochimaru flipped his wrist, and 3 potions appeared in his hand. Take it and use it, 1 pill a month, from light to dark. This is. You will know after using it. Orochimaru didn't explain the effect of the potion to her. Anyway, after using it once, she naturally understood it. However, remember, you can only use it for yourself, don't give it to your family, or even your parents. Yes, yes. Uchiha Mikoto nodded obediently. Orochimaru didn't feel guilty, but she did. With her enthusiasm retreating, she felt a little unbelievable about what she had done yesterday, but Orochimaru's actions made her temporarily forget these problems. Orochimaru, the pill is indeed cold on the outside and hot on the inside. It's just that this medicine. Looking at the 3 potions placed on the quilt, Uchiha Mikoto suddenly felt like she was being carried away. Orochimaru ignored her thoughts, got dressed and went out, only to find that Tsunade had appeared in the living room. At this time, my alertness is really at its lowest. Orochimaru, how did you feel yesterday? Tsunade, neatly dressed and wearing a coat, sat on the sofa and smiled playfully. You woman, Orochimaru was helpless. What made you make such a decision? Although it's not surprising, Orochimaru still has it. After all, this kind of thing would have been unthinkable even in the previous life. You know, Tsunade is not the kind of person who fools around. No matter how hard she trains her, she can't agree to such a thing so easily. Facing Orochimaru's question, Tsunade seemed ready to answer, but after asking a few questions to no avail, Orochimaru had no choice but to give up. Uchiha Mikoto left Orochimaru's house in embarrassment and did not appear again for a while. It seemed like he didn't know how to face Orochimaru and Tsunade. Orochimaru didn't care and spent the next few days peacefully. A week later. In the evening, Orochimaru received a notice from the Hokage Anbu. Came to the Hokage's office alone. However, the next words of the 3rd Hokage made him stunned. If they don't hand me over, they will besiege Konoha. Good. The 3rd Hokage crossed his hands on the desk and looked at Orochimaru with burning eyes. They got information about your research and development of scientific ninja tools, and are very afraid of your power. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, Orochimaru frowned subconsciously, while his thoughts were racing in his heart. After a moment, he raised a smile and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. So, how did the village decide? Or rather, teacher, how did you decide? Sarutobi Hiruzen put down his hand, took a deep breath, and a flash of guilt flashed in his eyes. Orochimaru, you are the teacher's favorite disciple, but this time is related to the life and death of the entire village. The teacher begs you for the sake of the lives of tens of thousands of people in the village. Is this your decision, teacher? Orochimaru interrupted Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, with a hint of disappointment in his smile. In order to save the lives of others, I will sacrifice my life, hehe, my life is quite valuable. The teacher doesn't want to do that either. Okay, teacher, no need to say more. Orochimaru once again interrupted Sarutobi Hiruzen. I understand your difficulties very well, teacher. After all, no matter how important my life is, it is not as important as the lives of tens of thousands of ninjas. Orochimaru, you. The calmer Orochimaru is, the more guilty Sarutobi Hiruzen feels. So, how did you discuss it? Orochimaru's mouth showed a trace of ridicule. You want to hand over my body directly? Or should you tie me up first and execute me to death in the presence of several major countries? Orochimaru's words left Sarutobi Hiruzen speechless. After a moment, he took a deep breath with tears streaming down his face. Orochimaru, the teacher is sorry for you. At night, on the streets of Konoha village, dim lights shone on a figure with long hair, casting a long shadow. The shadow soon stepped into darkness again. Walking slowly on the streets of Konoha village, Orochimaru felt a little desolate in his heart. In the final analysis, I still have too high expectations for Sarutobi Hiruzen. Konoha couldn't resist the pressure of the 3 ninja villages and had no choice but to hand it over. What is this? Is it Yekeng who was betrayed by Kazekage in Sand Ninja Village? Or is it Hyuga Hisashi who was forced to die by the Hyuga clan? Or is it more like a combination of the two? Haha, what a travesty! Really, if it is not your own village, no matter how much you contribute, there is always the risk of becoming an outcast. Only at this moment did he understand why he didn't feel a sense of belonging to Konoha. The moment Sarutobi Hiruzen became the Hokage, he could only think about issues from the Hokage's perspective. The interests of the village definitely outweigh personal emotions. Once the village is in danger, even he will be abandoned without hesitation. But fortunately, at least Sarutobi Hiruzen told himself the whole story of this matter in advance, and did not let himself die in an unknown manner like the Sand Ninja's Hagura. Only, will he really die? No, I won't die. Not only will you not die, but you will live better. It's a good thing that he doesn't have a son, otherwise, the worries would be too much. The only one who is a little reluctant to part with it is probably Tsunade, right? Hey? Tsunade? On the streets of Konoha, under the dim lights, two people were walking in the same direction, one behind the other. They walked slowly, the former looked calm and the latter looked confused. At this time, the two of them did not notice at all that a black figure in the distance had jumped onto the roof and looked at them from a distance. They slowly came to a secluded place in the corner of the village. The latter suddenly stopped, and a clear voice sounded coldly, "That's enough, Swan, just stay here." Hearing this, Kato Swan stopped, then slowly turned around, looking at the pretty figure behind him. "Tsunade, it's really not easy to meet you alone." Kato Swan smiled gently. Although it was dark night, the light in the distance still allowed Tsunade to clearly see the gentle smile on his face. "Okay, stop it." Tsunade put her hands on her exaggerated bust and took a deep breath to calm down. "Stop saying these polite words, let's get down to business. You just said that you have something very important to say to me. What is it? Is it related to Orochimaru?" "Good." Kato-dan still maintained a smile. "But, can't you talk to me about other things? Orochimaru as soon as you come here." "Sorry, I have nothing to talk to you, and it's too late now. If Orochimaru comes back and sees that I'm not at home." "Is that so?" Kato-dan smiled slightly and shrugged helplessly. "Okay then. In fact, it's nothing important. I'm calling you out this time just to tell you something you don't know." "Something I don't know?" Tsunade frowned. Kato-dan nodded. "Although I know it's inappropriate to say this about Orochimaru, I still want to say, Tsunade, you really chose the wrong person this time. Break, you. Don't worry, just listen to me." Kato-dan told everything he knew. He didn't know when he had noticed Tsunade's existence. While in school, or after graduation. It's not important anymore. The important thing is that he likes Tsunade and has liked her for a long time. A long, long time. Only those who have had a crush on someone know what kind of experience it is like. It's just that their status is very different. Tsunade is the high-ranking princess of the Senju clan, but he is just a genius ninja from a small family. There has been no possibility of intersection between the two since they were young. When he grew up, he finally caught Tsunade's attention at a Jonin meeting, but later on, he discovered that the relationship between Tsunade and Orochimaru had developed to a certain extent. He was not convinced and unwilling to do so. Seeing Tsunade crying because of Orochimaru, and then seeing the happy smile on Tsunade's face because she reconciled with Orochimaru, a name gradually grew in his heart. He was jealous of Orochimaru's talent, jealous of Orochimaru's strength, and jealous of getting Tsunade. Why should a man who makes women cry own Tsunade? This was what he was thinking at the time. But except for this, there is really nothing wrong with Orochimaru's performance in other aspects. Whether it's his achievements on the battlefield, his invention of ninja tools, or his personal achievements, they are incomparable to ordinary people. Even the exaggerated 200 million wedding is enough to make most people look up to it. So he could only watch Tsunade get married and watch the two show their affection. This feeling is nothing but uncomfortable. But it was different now, because he discovered an amazing thing, which was enough to ruin Orochimaru's reputation. This guy? In vivo experiments? Or a child? After listening to Kato-dan's words, Tsunade was stunned. Kato-dan nodded cautiously. Although I don't believe this is true, it is a fact, and impossible. Tsunade came back to her senses and interrupted Kato-dan's words directly. Zan, I know you like me, but I am married to Orochimaru now. Is it really appropriate for you to discredit Orochimaru in this way? Tsunade loudly refuted Kato-dan's words, but her subconscious told her that what Kato-dan said is probably true. Tsunade, do you think I would joke about something like this? Kato-dan continued. I am a ninja of Konoha. Even if I don't like your husband, I won't frame him with something that doesn't exist. Okay, stop talking. Even if Orochimaru is really doing live experiments, I believe he has his own reasons. It's you. A flash of disgust flashed in Tsunade's eyes. You discovered such a thing, and you didn't report it to the Hokage. What do you mean by telling me first? You. Hearing Tsunade's words, Kato-dan was stunned for a moment, and then smiled helplessly. Haha, so you have always looked at me like this? How do you know that I didn't report it to the Hokage? Kato-dan raised his hand to stop what Tsunade was about to say. Okay, Lord Hokage already knew about this matter 3 days ago. I came here with good intentions to remind you and let you prepare early, but I didn't expect that you misinterpreted my meaning. In this case, forget it, goodbye. After saying that, he turned and left without waiting for Tsunade to answer. However, Tsunade's trust in Orochimaru just now made him couldn't help but tighten his fists. This relationship is really unbreakable. Seeing Kato-dan's back, Tsunade did not call him, but quickly ran towards her home. Kato-dan doesn't matter at all. What she cares about is Orochimaru. She needs to ask Orochimaru clearly. It's really unpleasant. After returning to his house, Kato-dan drank a glass of wine, looked at the corner of the room and muttered to himself. For him, nothing else matters at all. What matters is Tsunade's attitude towards him. Although Tsunade had already been with Orochimaru and he had given up, the disgust in Tsunade's eyes still made him extremely uncomfortable. Wanting this, he filled himself up with wine again and drank it in one gulp. At this moment, a joking voice suddenly sounded. Are you planning to get yourself drunk? The sudden sound made Kato Swan break out in a cold sweat, and the hair on his whole body stood up. Who? Kato Su didn't even look at it. He instinctively distanced himself from the person who made the sound. Big, Orochimaru? When he saw the person coming, Kato-dan was stunned when he backed away and turned around. At this time, Orochimaru had his hands in his trouser pockets and was standing behind him, looking at him with his teasing eyes. Kato-dan? Ha ha ha, I don't understand. Don't you know that Tsunade is a married woman? Are you still making excuses to date her? Big, the adults are joking. I just happen to have something very important to tell her. Yet? Orochimaru smiled evilly. That's really a pity. Since you said so, I can't say much. However, remember to get rid of this problem in your next life. The moment Kato-dan saw Orochimaru, his heart was horrified. He didn't understand why Orochimaru appeared in his house. But after all, he had just made an appointment with Tsunade, and he did say something against Orochimaru, so he felt that he was in the wrong. He was about to apologize, but when he heard Orochimaru suddenly say these words, he was stunned. Down, next life? Orochimaru-sama, what do you mean? What does it mean? Don't you understand? Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Orochimaru's figure had already disappeared. No. Kato-dan was originally an elite jonin, so his reaction was not slow. Although he was horrified, he still instinctively drew out a kunai, and at the same time he quickly flew back to the side. But in the process of flying back, he was a little confused. Why did his speed slow down so much? And why did Orochimaru want to kill him? As soon as the two questions came up, Kato-dan felt his vest ache cold. Phew! The kunai pierced his back with a gleam of cold light. So fast! He flipped his wrist, held the kunai backwards, and stabbed behind him without looking. No matter what, first kill the big snake. Maru forced him to retreat. Unfortunately, how could he, who had lost the initiative, be Orochimaru's opponent at such a close distance? All the tracks of Kato-dan's moves were clearly seen by Orochimaru's kaleidoscope. Orochimaru he reached out his left hand and firmly grasped the opponent's kunai wrist, and pulled out his kunai. The kunai was reversed, and under the influence of Orochimaru's powerful power, he directly cut off his arm. Snort! Kato-dan groaned, but Orochimaru had already covered his mouth before the sound came out. Oh! The kunai easily cut his throat. It's such a pity that I don't have time to experience your spiritual transformation skills. Orochimaru smiled teasingly, and after releasing Kato-dan, he calmly picked up the tissue on the table next to him and began to wipe the blood on his hands and kunai. Kato-dan, on the other hand, covered his throat and half knelt on the ground. Blood covered his right hand, flowing out from between his fingers and dripping to the ground. At this moment, he looked at Orochimaru's red pupils with a look of disbelief on his face. Why do you want to kill me, why? He had no time to think about where Orochimaru's Sharingan came from, nor did he have time to think about why his speed had slowed down just now. He just wanted to know why Orochimaru wanted to kill him. He is an elite jounin in the village and has made countless contributions to the village. What reason does this guy have to kill him? Could it be that it was just because he had an appointment? Or did you say that you discovered his in vivo experiments? Think? He can't understand. Because Orochimaru had already reported it to him for doing live experiments, even if he killed himself, it would not help. Hearing this, Orochimaru casually threw the blood-stained bag on the ground, and squatted in front of him without haste, and his slightly hoarse voice sounded faintly. It's nothing, I'm just in a bad mood today, and your behavior just made me unhappy, that's all. At once, just because of this, are you going to kill me? Kato-dan felt a little incomprehensible. Orochimaru raised his lips. Isn't it enough? You, what are you, rebel village? Kato Swan's voice has been intermittent. Sniper killing the jounin of his own village for no reason? What is it if it's not a village rebellion? Rebel against the village? Orochimaru raised his lips disdainfully. Haha, just say so. Orochimaru stood up and put the kunai back into the different space. Remember what I just said, don't meddle in your own business in the next life. As soon as he finished speaking, Orochimaru disappeared on the spot. After Orochimaru disappeared, Kato-dan fell to the ground immediately. At this time, his pupils were wide open, blood was flowing all over the floor, and he looked like he would never die in peace. The feeling. He really didn't understand why Orochimaru suddenly killed him. At this moment, he felt so sleepy and just wanted to have a good sleep. I don't want to die, I still have a lot of things that I haven't done yet, I still want to do it, Naruto. The blood flowed slowly, and the voice was weak. Immediately afterwards, his eyelids became heavier and heavier, and the endless darkness soon swallowed him up. On the other side, in the courtyard, Tsunade paced back and forth in the living room, anxiously waiting for Orochimaru's return. What Kato-dan said just now really made her a little upset. Because Orochimaru is the person closest to her. If something happened to the person closest to her, even if it was just a rumor, it would be enough to worry her. Although she didn't believe that Orochimaru would go astray for the sake of experimentation. But she also needed Orochimaru to explain herself. Whoosh! Orochimaru's figure suddenly appeared in the living room. In this house, there are Orochimaru's flying thunder god kunai everywhere, so Orochimaru can come and go freely. Orochimaru, you are finally, hey, this is, before Tsunade finished speaking, she subconsciously leaned against Orochimaru and sniffed the smell of blood. Tsunade's expression changed. Orochimaru, what have you done? Looking at Orochimaru's white hands, Tsunade, I can confirm that the smell of blood comes from his hands. Nothing much was done. Orochimaru smiled casually, and that's not important. And you? Tsunade. I came back to say goodbye to you. Say goodbye? Tsunade was stunned. It's so late, where are you going? Leave Konoha. Leaving Konoha? You can't do it tomorrow morning. I'm talking about leaving forever. Varied, what? Tsunade froze in place, looking at Orochimaru in a daze. At this time, she couldn't believe her ears. Leave Konoha forever? Why? Orochimaru, hair, what happened? I can't tell you clearly in this short period of time. If you want to know, just ask Sandai tomorrow morning. Orochimaru didn't want to explain, and started to pack some things that had to be taken away. Hey, Orochimaru, what's going on? Looking at Orochimaru's actions, Tsunade felt a little panicked. What's the matter, can't you tell me clearly? I'm your wife. Wife? Orochimaru smiled. Haha, that's right, but I really don't have time to explain it to you. You should ask the third generation tomorrow morning. If you don't have time to explain, you can't just leave? What should I do if you leave? Tsunade suddenly thought of something also. If you want to leave, why don't you take me with you? Is there any problem between us? Take you with me? No, you can't be a traitor. Orochimaru finished packing his things and walked slowly to Tsunade. Looking at the pretty face in front of him, he gently raised Tsunade's chin and kissed her out of habit. After a moment, their lips parted. Just stay in Konoha and wait for news from me. Stay in the village and wait for news? Tsunade didn't react, but she didn't have time to think about it now. Because Orochimaru is leaving soon. Do you have to go? Don't take me. It's not that I don't want to bring it, it's that I can't bring it. Orochimaru said calmly. However, don't be too sad. Anyway, you also know the location of my village and can contact me at any time. That's what it says, but... Stop it, I'm leaving first. Orochimaru rubbed Tsunade's head. Remember, if you want to know the reason, you have to wait at least until dawn. Bye now. Tsunade. Whoosh. As soon as the words fell, Orochimaru's figure had disappeared into the room, leaving no chance for Tsunade to continue asking. Looking at the empty room, Tsunade has not come back to her senses now. All this happened really, it was so sudden that she had no time to think about the causes and consequences. After Orochimaru left, many questions emerged in her mind. Why did Orochimaru leave suddenly? Was he really using children for live experiments? No, with Orochimaru, the importance of Orochimaru to Konoha, even if he really does live experiments, the third generation will not impose excessive punishment on Orochimaru. Leaving the village for this reason? There is no need at all. But if it weren't for this, what would it be? Why? Thinking of this, Tsunade subconsciously wanted to go to the third Hokage to ask clearly. But as soon as she took a few steps, she remembered that Orochimaru told her to go after dawn. Damn it, this guy didn't explain everything clearly before he left. The sky is dark and the night is quiet. Apart from the bright moon in the sky, there were only the singing insects and Orochimaru around the jungle for company. Walking alone in the jungle, Orochimaru recalled Kato Dan's words. Have in vivo experiments been discovered? It seems that Sandai gave up on himself after much consideration. Orochimaru's contribution to Konoha is absolutely huge. But the third Hokage still chose to compromise with other ninja villages. Why? The reason is not only the fear of facing the siege of the three major ninja villages at the same time. It is also because Orochimaru stands on he went to Danzo's side. In other words, Orochimaru, the disciple, no longer belonged to him, Sarutobi. He was secretly doing experiments for Danzo. And he was doing experiments on living subjects. Various reasons combined, this made him Sarutobi Hiruzen made up his mind and chose to sacrifice Orochimaru. As for why Orochimaru wanted to kill Kato-dan? In fact, there is really no special reason. As he said before, he happened to meet Kato when he was in a bad mood. Swan made an appointment with Tsunade alone. In this situation, Orochimaru would have given him a beating and a few words of warning. Even if he discovered his own experiment on living subjects, it would not matter. After all, by doing this experiment on his own, he would have been prepared to be discovered earlier. Being discovered by anyone is actually the same, Kato-dan's crime will not lead to death. But when Orochimaru thought of the relationship between Tsunade and Kato-dan in his memory, and then thought of the fact that he was abandoned by the village. Therefore, in order to avoid future troubles, he did not hesitate, he killed him. He has become an outcast, and he is not allowed to support him? Abandoned son? Haha, even though I had prepared for it, when the day actually came, it still made people feel a little uncomfortable. Orochimaru murmured to himself. That night, Orochimaru left Konoha. That night, Kato-dan was killed. That night, Tsunade couldn't sleep all night. But despite so much happening, Konoha village is still peaceful. Early the next morning, in the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the whole scene outside Konoha through the floor-to-ceiling glass with his hands behind his hands, and he was filled with sighs. Although death is the final destination of ninjas, but sacrificing a disciple in exchange for peace is a shame for anyone, and he is certainly no exception. Especially this disciple, he is still the one he is most proud of. Even if this disciple sides with Danzo, it still cannot change this fact. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the office door. Come in. Squeak. The door opened, and an ANBU came in and knelt on one knee in front of him. Report to Hokage-sama. Speak. The user of the laboratory has been confirmed and is indeed Lord Orochimaru. Is there any evidence? Have. The ANBU paused for a moment as he said this. Several of the children who were discovered will be able to escape. I think except for Lord Orochimaru. What? Besides Orochimaru-sama, no one else has this ability at all. Before he could say these words, Sarutobi Hiruzen was already stunned. Would release? Or several? 3 generations, a rapid shout suddenly sounded, interrupting the third Hokage's contemplation. After enduring it all night, Tsunade finally stumbled over. Tsunade, you are here. The third Hokage looked calm, because he had already expected Tsunade's arrival. Why did Orochimaru leave the village? I want to know the reason. Tsunade got straight to the point without any hesitation. The third Hokage let out a sigh of relief. Don't worry, I'll tell you right now. Regarding this matter, the third Hokage was not prepared to hide it from Tsunade, because he knew that he couldn't hide it at all. After ordering the ANBU to stand down, the third Hokage began to tell the story of the causes and consequences. 10 minutes later, Tsunade was completely stunned. What? 3. The siege of the village? Yes, it's also our fault that we didn't keep Orochimaru's confidentiality well, otherwise it wouldn't have turned into what it is today. Then can you send Orochimaru to die? Bang! Tsunade slapped the desk and shouted at Hiruzen. Sarutobi, he has made so many contributions to the village and made so many contributions to the village? You did this to him. He is your proud disciple, teacher. Although Tsunade was yelling, her tone revealed deep disappointment. Is it really worth it to work for a village like this? So what can I do? Sarutobi Hiruzen calmly interrupted Tsunade. Do you think the teacher is willing to do this? The current Konoha cannot resist the attacks of 3 villages. If Orochimaru is not handed over, then you can't just let Orochimaru die. Tsunade shouted angrily. That's her husband. Just listen to me, Tsunade. Sarutobi Hiruzen also raised his voice. This is not entirely the teacher's decision, but also Orochimaru's own decision. Varied, what? I said, this is Orochimaru's own decision. Orochimaru's own decision? Hearing this, Tsunade frowned. Orochimaru voluntarily died? How can it be? If Orochimaru really wanted to do this, he wouldn't have said that to himself last night. I have also considered this matter for a long time. The third Hokage took a deep breath and told the whole story. Originally there were two ways to hand over Orochimaru. One is to do it ourselves and hand over Orochimaru's body. Cut. When Tsunade heard this, she clenched her silver teeth and couldn't help clenching her fists. The third Hokage ignored her and continued. The other option is to send Orochimaru to perform a secret mission and enter their ambush. The third Hokage said this and took a puff of cigarette depressedly. However, Orochimaru is not only my disciple, but also a hero of Konoha. Naturally, I can't choose to do it myself. This is the bottom line of the village and mine. In other words, you chose the second method. Good. The third Hokage said solemnly. Originally, no matter which of these two methods is implemented, it should be carried out while concealing information, but, Orochimaru, I don't want him to die in an unknown way, so before leaving the village, he fully understands this information, and, originally, I thought he would directly choose to rebel against the village after knowing the whole story. After all, considering Orochimaru's situation, rebelling against the village was the best choice, but I didn't expect that. Unexpectedly, he agreed to go and die. Tsunade took over what the third Hokage said. Indeed, Orochimaru has no father, no mother, and no children. Without any worries, knowing that this kind of thing happened to him, he could choose to rebel against the village without any scruples. But he did not defect directly. At this moment, as Orochimaru's wife, she could completely understand Orochimaru's mood at that time. The village he had been loyal to since childhood gave up on him at a critical moment. I'm afraid nothing disappointed him more than this. Tsunade can think of it and understand it. As for why Orochimaru didn't directly rebel against the village and agree to the request of the third Hokage, Tsunade also had a little guess about this. Only. No, Hokage-sama. An urgent voice suddenly rang. As soon as he finished speaking, a Konoha patrol ninja stumbled into the Hokage's office. The third Hokage frowned. What's wrong? Troublesome things came one after another. When he heard the words "it's not good," he couldn't help but become irritable. The elite jounin named Kato Dan died. What? Break. The third Hokage and Tsunade were stunned at the same time. Come on, take me to see it. The third Hokage quickly ordered. Tsunade seemed to realize something and hurriedly followed. When the third Hokage went out, there were naturally Anbu following him. A few minutes later, in Kato Dan's house, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Tsunade, and Anbu surrounded it, formed a circle. A corpse with a broken arm was lying on the ground, and there was coagulated and dried blood everywhere. How come? The third Hokage frowned and sighed helplessly for a moment. Oh, let's give him a good burial. For him, he could give up Orochimaru, so what does a Kato Dan mean to him? Of course, he still has to do superficial work. Check it out. Yes. Seeing the Anbu leaving, Tsunade suddenly said, I want to find Orochimaru. No, there are all enemies there. Even if I die, I will die with him. Tsunade roared decisively. At this moment, she had forgotten everything. Even Orochimaru's instructions to stay in Konoha before he left, she had long forgotten. I just want to find Orochimaru. Well. The third Hokage wanted to say something, but when he finally opened his mouth, nothing came out. In the end, he could only sigh helplessly. He knew that from now on, whether the two of them were alive or dead, it had nothing to do with him. But what can he do? Time passes day by day. 3 days have passed since Orochimaru left the village. 3 days later, the Kingdom of Frost. The geographical environment of this country is also good, and it looks similar to the Land of Fire. Orochimaru, who was walking slowly among the lofty mountains and wearing a special robe from the Land of Grass, felt no waves in his heart. Now he has no belonging or organization, but he feels more relaxed and happy than before. This feeling cannot be described in words. All in all, it's great. Perhaps, this is the feeling of freedom, right? Orochimaru muttered. For ordinary ninjas, Konoha is safe and a safe haven. But for Orochimaru, it was more like a shackle, making him unable to do anything. Now, the actions of the third Hokage have completely cut off Orochimaru's last extravagant hope for Konoha, and from now on, the sky is high and birds can fly. He no longer needs to hide his power, nor does he need to take into account the relationship between master and disciple. Because after Sarutobi Hiruzen decided to hand him over, all of this ceased to exist. Even though Sarutobi Hiruzen was not particularly ruthless in this matter. But for him, Orochimaru, it was unfair, and very unfair. A ninja who contributed so much technology to the village was finally sold out by the village? Who can bear this? If he didn't turn black on the spot, it would be considered a sign of mercy from Orochimaru. Originally, the correct time for Orochimaru to rebel against the village was 4 years after the Night of the Nine Tails, which was the 52nd year of Konoha. But now, due to various reasons, he left Konoha more than 10 years earlier. This has to be said to be an irony. Is it worse? Or are you doing better? Orochimaru himself didn't know. Boom boom boom. A sudden tremor of the ground made Orochimaru frown, and before he could react, 3 more sounds of piercing the sky sounded. Whoosh whoosh. The 3 kunao came straight towards Orochimaru with a cold light. I really can't wait. There was a trace of ridicule at the corner of Orochimaru's mouth. He turned sideways slightly and avoided the attack of 3 kunao. Swish, swish, swish. A large number of kunao and shurikens flew out from all directions, heading straight for Orochimaru. Va! A large number of kunao with ignited detonation talismans blocked all his escape routes. Boom, boom, boom. Huge explosions sounded around Orochimaru. The explosion was deafening and instantly resounded throughout the canyon. Finished. It's not that easy. This is Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas. Hey, so what? Even if he wasn't killed just now, he is definitely dead this time. Well said. With the cold conversation between the two, the smoke produced by the explosion of the detonating talisman in the field gradually dissipated. Orochimaru's own vision also became clearer. Here is a valley, and the entrance of the valley behind him has been blocked by huge rocks. Die! The third Raikage and a large number of Kumo ninjas stood on the top of the mountain on the left side of the valley, and Onaki and a large number of IWA ninjas stood on the top of the right mountain. At the intersection in front of him, stood a young man with brown hair and a large number of Suna ninjas guarding him. Exit location. Ha ha ha, the 3 major ninja villages join forces? My face is also big enough. Did Orochimaru die for the sake of the village? No, he does not have such a high level of consciousness. Did he come here just to see who were the people involved in killing him? It's good to kill a few, by the way. This is his style. But even he didn't expect that people from the 3 major countries would actually be here? It's incredible. You must know that although the 3 major powers are superficially aligned, their private conflicts are absolutely irreconcilable. Even if the shadows of their village were interested in forming an alliance, would they at best get together on the battlefield and in private? This is simply not realistic. But now, did they really get together? Do you have such a great reputation? Orochimaru is very suspicious. But Orochimaru was surprised, and the people around him were more surprised than him. Hey, hey, what are those black substances? This is... No, no way. This guy. How can it be? The young man standing at the top of the sand ninja frowned even more. The sand iron of the third Kazekage? What the hell is going on with this guy? At this time, below the valley, a large amount of black sand iron formed a sphere, protecting Orochimaru in the middle. Only Orochimaru's golden vertical pupils were exposed from the black sand iron. So many kunao, so many hands shuriken, so many detonating talismans. Without special defense means, even Orochimaru would definitely be beaten into a sieve, so he used magnetic release and sand iron defense. Kunao and shuriken were 1 meter away from Orochimaru. It stopped outside, and those detonating symbols were blocked by the defense formed by a large amount of sand iron. Orochimaru's sand iron all has system space. It is not only large in quantity, but also easy to access, and the defense speed is naturally also extremely fast. Although I have known for a long time that it is not that easy to solve, but... Onoki's eyes were fixed on the black iron sand surrounding Orochimaru below the valley. The third Kazekage's magnetic escape? How can it be? How did he take the third Kazekage's abilities as his own? It's incredible. Yet, unbelievable. There is indeed something wrong with this guy. Looking at the sand iron on Orochimaru's body, the 4th generation Raikage standing behind the 3rd generation Raikage was also surprised. Although he had never seen the magnetic release of black sand iron, he had heard of it. At this time, he just glanced at it casually. I guessed that Orochimaru used magnetic escape. Are the 3 major ninja villages joining forces to kill Orochimaru? No, how is this possible? Orochimaru is not qualified enough. Even if they knew that Orochimaru killed the 3rd Kazekage, it was not enough for them to abandon their prejudices and come together. They never thought about the purpose of coming here from the beginning to the end. They just wanted to see how Orochimaru died. Because if it were left to any one village to kill Orochimaru, the other 2 villages would not be at ease. After all, no one would know, and Orochimaru would not be recruited privately. Recruiting Orochimaru? Yes. Don't think this is a fantasy. Under the current environmental conditions, this kind of thing is entirely possible. Because Orochimaru's effectiveness was there, and now Konoha did not protect him well, he was exposed. Under the pressure of the 3 great ninja villages, Konoha had to hand over Orochimaru. At this time, Orochimaru must be full of hatred for Konoha. Other villages, with a little bit of effort, might be able to gain Orochimaru's allegiance. This is a question that everyone can consider. And with Konoha's past experience, it is very possible that they will hide Orochimaru. So, after some discussion, they simply came together. The purpose was just to monitor whether other villages really killed Orochimaru, not to take him as their own. Just looking at Orochimaru's magnetic release below the valley, they all frowned. They knew the power of magnetic escape very well. With this ability to protect oneself, most of the attacks of ordinary ninjas will be useless, right? Of course, at this time, Onoki and the 3rd Raikage had not thought about going to the battlefield in person. Because they are shadows and have their own unique skills. With so many subordinates here, why do they need to do it themselves? In addition to the shadows and subordinates above, there are also many ninjas hidden below the valley. Orochimaru, who was hiding in the black sand iron ball, unconsciously raised his lips after sensing the surrounding situation. It was not his first time to fight against many people, but he had never faced so many people before. Forget it, let's test the waters with one trick first. Thinking of this, Orochimaru flipped his wrist, and 4 flies turned invisible and flew out of his black ball. Also flying out were a large amount of black sand and iron. There were a lot of sand and iron, and they all flew into the sky and condensed together. The perspective of the 4 flies helped him observe the situation outside, and at the same time captured the hiding places of several ninjas. It seemed that they were all Kumo ninjas. Orochimaru smiled, and slowly raised the index and middle fingers of his hands together. Together. It's you. Magnetic release. Sand Iron Boundary Technique. Phew! Countless sand iron fell from the sky like an iron tree blooming. It was overwhelming and dense. With the support of a huge amount of chakra, the coverage area has exceeded the third Kazekage. Boom boom boom! Countless penetrations, the powerful iron sand pierced into the soil of the ground without mercy. The ground. The hidden cloud ninja responsible for this sniper mission had already noticed the situation of the sand iron, and one or two quickly dodged. However, the area covered by this move was too large. Wide and too dense. They are not like Orochimaru, who has the Sharingan to predict the trajectory of iron sand. Get out of the way! Hateful! Did this guy use such a chakra-consuming move from the beginning? What a guy who doesn't play by the rules! Don't be dazed! Bastard, no need to hide. Class 3, Class 4, Class 6, we will work together to take care of him. Good! Swish, swish! As soon as he finished speaking, countless cloud ninjas jumped out from their hiding positions. They were still in the air, and their hands were forming seals quickly. Break his shield first. Learn. Thunder Escape, Thunder Ball. Thunder Escape, Thunder Snake. Thunder Escape, Thunder Bound. CAH. CAH. Countless grotesque thunder and lightning, speeding toward Orochimaru's position with thunderous momentum. Since I can take charge of this sniper mission, the Cloud Ninjas naturally have rich combat capabilities and adaptability. Sand Iron Defense? It can be broken with Thunder Escape. Under the siege of so many people, as long as the Sand Iron Defense loses its effect, even if it is only for a few minutes, Orochimaru will also be unable to move even an inch. Use thunder to magnetize my sand iron? Not a bad idea, but, Orochimaru raised his lips, I don't rely on magnetic escape to fight. As soon as he finished speaking, the sand and iron around Orochimaru became extremely difficult to control because of being hit by lightning escape, and flaws were soon revealed. But at this time, under the influence of magnetic escape, countless kunai spread out in all directions with Orochimaru as the center. Flying Thunder God, kill. _ Flying Thunder God, kill. It was the technique used by the second Hokage to kill Uchiha Madara's younger brother, Uchiha Izuna. But at that time, the Flying Thunder God technique had just been developed. Not only was the speed slower, but the movements were not coherent enough. But now, so fast! Careful! Whispering sound! Don't underestimate people! Clang! Metal collides, two swords strike each other. The two long swords are intertwined with different changes in chakra properties. One is a Kusanagi sword with wind attributes, and the other is an excellent ninja sword with thunder attributes. There was a huge gap between the weapons and the chakra attributes were incompatible. When the two swords crossed, the superiority was decided. The Cloud Ninja widened his eyes, filled with incredible color. At this moment, time seemed to slow down countless times. He looked when he reached his broken ninja sword, he also saw the opponent's scarlet pupils. Oh! Under the sharp edge of the Kusanagi sword, his chest was like paper. He couldn't even feel the pain, and Orochimaru's figure had disappeared. In front of him. So fast! After the second Hokage used the Flying Thunder God Slash, he was unable to quickly connect with the subsequent attacks. But now, Orochimaru has not only perfected this technique, but also has enhanced strength and sharp weapons to assist him. So, there were 30 or 40 kunai that flew out at the same time just now. In this case, combined with Orochimaru's Sharingan? Even if he hasn't learned any sword skills, his combat effectiveness is still terrifying. The bodies intertwined and the sword light flashed. Everyone could only see a ghost-like figure flickering in the field. Every time this figure flashes, it takes away the life of a Kumo ninja. Most ninjas were hit without even seeing Orochimaru's appearance. And kill him with one blow. Either stabbed through the heart, slit in the throat, or decapitated with a sword. Facing these enemies who wanted to kill him, Orochimaru unscrupulously released the violence in his heart without any mercy. Damn it, is it really the rumored technique of the second Hokage? Go back! The Sand Ninjas have seen the battle between Orochimaru and Kazekage, so they know some information about Orochimaru's Flying Thunder God technique. At the same time, they also shared this information with the Cloud Ninjas. But despite this, only a few people were able to react just now. Just defensive. This technique, terrible. What kind of speed is this? Seeing that the Kyumo ninja who entered the coverage area of Orochimaru's kunao turned into corpses in such a short period of time, everyone watching the battle above the valley frowned. And Orochimaru in the field was holding grass. The blood-red pupils scanned the corpses on the ground, and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The people who had previously used the sand-iron boundary technique gathered behind him, forming a round shield that could withstand attacks from behind. The Cloud Ninja was responsible for sniping. There are still many more, and there are at least 50 people by visual inspection. But after seeing Orochimaru's Flying Thunder God technique, they no longer dare to get too close, and they all stay away from the coverage of Orochimaru's Flying Thunder God kunao. Using these kunao to move at high speed. As long as you stay away from these kunao, you can avoid the risk of being surprised. It should be. However, there are so many kunao on the other side that we simply can't get past them. The Cloud Ninjas held their own ninja swords and looked at Orochimaru eagerly while analyzing his abilities. Orochimaru was not in a hurry and looked at the Cloud Ninjas around him playfully. The current Flying Thunder God kunao covered the previous ones. Orochimaru is the center, with a radius of 150 meters. If they want to attack Orochimaru, they must either attack from a distance of more than 150 meters, or get rid of these kunao with marks. I have an idea. A Cloud Ninja suddenly said. The Cloud Ninja made a gesture to the others, and the others immediately understood. Let's go together and pay attention to the location of those kunao. Good. The Cloud Ninjas held the ninja swords in their hands and stepped forward again. Looking at the movements of the Cloud Ninjas, Orochimaru once again praised the ninjas' adaptability. They actually worked in pairs, collecting the pain of their Flying Thunder gods. No? The distance between kunao is not small. When the opponent is on guard, even if he dodges past, the opponent will still have time to dodge or defend. It is not efficient. Thinking of this, Orochimaru raised his hand and put all the marks on all the kunao were recalled to him and returned to the different space. The Cloud Ninjas did not stop. Seeing that kunao was recalled by Orochimaru, they took the opportunity to quickly approach Orochimaru. The Cloud Ninjas' sword skills are extremely superb and their speed is also extremely fast, but, do you want Orochimaru to compete with them in swordsmanship without Flying Thunder gods? Orochimaru has no such leisure. Got it. Cloud Flow, slash. A Cloud Ninja jumped in the air, dodged Shitai's defense, and struck Orochimaru's neck with a horizontal slash. Orochimaru didn't move, only the scarlet eyes moved slightly. Tightly then, he lowered his head slightly, and with the insight of Sharingan, he easily dodged the slash. At the same time, he turned around and stabbed out the Kusanagi sword in his hand. Poof! Blood splashed. Another Cloud Shinobu fell. Orochimaru's speed was very fast, and the space fluctuated again. The Kusanagi sword disappeared in an instant. He kicked Kyumo Shinobi's lower abdomen, and while using the force to fly back, he quickly formed seals with his hands. Wind escape. Big breakthrough. Phew. Huge. The tornado roared past with powerful cutting ability. With the blessing of a huge amount of chakra, the power of this wind escape is comparable to that of an S-class. Hateful. How can it be? The Cloud Ninjas who were in the center of Feng Dun were unable to escape and screamed again and again for a while. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Doesn't this guy need to conserve chakra? One move is a big move? Orochimaru can't control that much. When he sees that he is forcing back the enemy in front of him, he must continue to form seals. But at this moment, he suddenly became alert. Subconsciously looked to the right. Phew! A muscular figure with thunder and lightning all over his body suddenly appeared above his head. Damn boy, I will be your opponent. Yulei Shen Wrath Thunder Axe. Bang! His movements were like Tsunade's Tencha foot, with thunderous momentum, stepping towards Orochimaru from top to bottom. Boom! With one kick, the ground collapsed instantly, and soon it cracked in all directions. For a moment, the earth shattered and gravel flew. A large amount of smoke and dust also blocked the sight of all ninjas. Why were all the Kumo ninjas who ambush Orochimaru below the valley this time? That's because the other two villages have already cooperated once, and Kumo ninja has just reached an agreement with the other two villages not long ago. In order to prove the sincerity of their alliance, it was decided that they would be responsible for the sniper mission. Since it was a sniper killing, they would definitely study the intelligence of the sniper target before coming. Only with target intelligence, losses can be minimized. There was no way Konoha could give them Orochimaru's information. After all, so many people came to snipe and kill one person, it would be really embarrassing if Konoha was forced to get information. And there's also a sense of taking things too far. If Konoha not only fails to give them information, but also gives them a life and death attack, then they will suffer a big loss. Therefore, their intelligence sources were all obtained from previous analysis of the battlefield. Perception ability, snake ninjutsu, flying thunder god, etc. However, even though they were prepared, they still failed to successfully attack in the end, and were caught off guard by Orochimaru. It has to be said that this is an accident. This guy can not only use magnetic escape. Can you still summon so many flying thunder god kunao from another space? It was supposed to be a sure kill situation, but Orochimaru killed so many of them before he died? This was something they didn't expect at all. Seeing so many casualties among his subordinates, the grumpy fourth Raikage, who had the same name, so he was distinguished by the third and fourth generations, finally couldn't help but take action. After jumping down the valley, he took advantage of Orochimaru's opportunity to use his ninjutsu. He is still young now, only in his 20s, but because he practiced the Thunder Chakra mode of the Thunder Chakra armor, his temper has become very bad. The Thunder Escape armor concentrates the Thunder Escape Chakra throughout the body, thus covering the whole body with chakra and lightning. It can activate the body and enable the use of lightning instant body, and the defense ability will be greatly improved. At the same time, the thunder and lightning burst out in the body. Can increase nerve conduction speed. As the thunder release chakra increases, the defense and speed will also increase. The third and fourth generations of Raikage used ninjutsu in conjunction with the lightning shield to form the unique ninjutsu of the Cloud Ninja Village. This technique's speed, strength, and defense are all extremely powerful, making it a unique skill in the Cloud Ninja Village. Can it be killed? If hit by this trick, this guy should die, right? Hard to say. Looking at the shattered valley clearing, the Cloud Ninja stopped attacking, retreated far away, and looked at the battle in the center of the smoke with a solemn expression. Originally, it should be foolproof for the son of the third Raikage to take action, but Orochimaru's previous performance really made them afraid to draw random conclusions. As everyone talked, the smoke in the venue gradually dissipated. But what happened in the field left everyone dumbfounded. In the center of the cracked ground, the Thunder Attribute Chakra on the fourth Raikage is still furious. At this time, he is even still maintaining the downward slashing posture. Opposite him, a skeleton condensed with white chakra appeared. The skeleton was partially sunk into the soil, and it only had its upper body, and the upper body only had a skeleton. It was this skeleton that blocked the powerful blow of the fourth Raikage. Although the skeleton was split open by this blow, it was undoubtedly blocked. This is... The third Raikage looked solemn, but Onoki was surprised. Susanoo? How can it be? Isn't this something unique to the Uchiha clan? How could Orochimaru do this? Onoki was very familiar with this thing. Because when he was young, he was once frightened by Uchiha Madara's Susanoo. At this time, he was even more confused when he saw Orochimaru using it. Although the colors of the two Susanoos were different, he could be sure that this was the Susanoo. Orochimaru actually knows Susanoo? Just kidding? In the field, looking at the sturdy young man who suddenly appeared, Orochimaru still maintained his thin smile. Haha, it seems like a great person has arrived. As soon as he finished speaking, Susanoo grew a skeleton arm and threw it at the fourth Raikage without thinking. However, the fourth Raikage was so fast that an attack of this level could not hit him at all. The fourth Raikage retreated, and Orochimaru also took a step back with Susanoo's power. Stop talking nonsense and take another punch from me. Before Orochimaru could make any other moves, the fourth Raikage's furious voice sounded again. Immediately afterwards, his figure disappeared from the place. Everyone could barely see his figure, they could only see a deep footprint on the ground and cracks in the ground around the footprint. Appearing again, others have arrived behind Orochimaru. Heavy flow. Boom. A strong impact suddenly sounded. The terrifying impact force caused by the two people's moves caused the surrounding ground to collapse again, and the air waves caused by the chakra even blew away the surrounding gravel and smoke. Good, so strong. What kind of battle is this? Unbelievable. Is the son of the third Raikage also so strong? Looking at the white skeleton fist in front of him that blocked his heavy explosion elbow strike, the fourth Raikage looked in disbelief. It's just the Sharingan, but it can actually capture my movements? Can you still fight back? How can it be? Orochimaru raised the corners of his mouth, and his scarlet pupils turned instantly. You also take a punch from me. As soon as he finished speaking, Susanoo's other skeleton fist suddenly punched out from the side. Bang! One punch directly knocked the fourth Raikage away. Hit! What happened? Seeing this scene, the others were even more horrified. The fourth Raikage was so fast that he couldn't dodge this punch? What? But before their surprise ended, something even more surprising happened to them. Only Susanoo, who saw Orochimaru in the field, transformed into the third form in less than 2 seconds. The skeleton was repaired, the meridians appeared, followed by armor and weapons. Although he did not grow legs, he had enough. All these transformations took no more than 2 seconds. Of course, this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that a chakra weapon appeared in his hand, which was a rocket launcher. The rocket launcher had already been used by him at this time. He put it on his shoulders and aimed forward. This direction was exactly the direction where the fourth Raikage was thrown. Goodbye. Orochimaru didn't say anything, and directly pulled the trigger. Phew! A rocket made of white chakra, with terrifying pressure, rushed towards the direction of the fourth Raikage. At this time, the fourth Raikage, but he had just landed. Hide? He was just hit, and it was impossible to dodge. He could only use the thunder escape armor to resist. At this moment, another strong body with violent thunder attribute chakra came out. Han appeared in front of the fourth Raikage. Boom! A huge explosion resounded throughout the valley. The fourth Raikage had a bad temper. Even when he saw Orochimaru's Susanoo, he never thought of giving up. He felt that with his speed and strength, Susanoo was nothing. You can easily defeat yourself. As for the opponent's Flying Thunder God? After understanding the Flying Thunder God's method of casting spells, he was fully capable of fighting. However, no matter how awesome he was, he couldn't have imagined that Orochimaru's ability was spatial confinement. The spatial confinement that originally had 1 minute of preparation time was shortened to 20 seconds due to the genes of Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito. Moreover, the confinement range has been upgraded from a radius of 5 meters to a radius of 15 meters. Just now, when Orochimaru discovered that the fourth Raikage had entered the scene, he decisively began to accumulate energy and prepare for this eye power. Because he knew that although the Flying Thunder God was fast, it was still very difficult to defeat the fourth Raikage with just the Flying Thunder God. After all, the Thunder Release armor can withstand the presence of Rasen Shuriken, and even the Chidori, which has a strong thrusting ability, cannot penetrate it. Just use the Flying Thunder God? How to break the defense? Now if he wants to break through the defense, he has no choice but to use the power of the eyes, not even the Kusanagi sword. Therefore, he used the power of the space to confine his eyes to catch the heavy blast of the fourth Raikage. At the same time, he also used this power to hit the fourth Raikage with one punch. After about 10 seconds of preparation, the opponent's movement speed was reduced by at least 50%. In this case, if you still can't hit, you might as well die. After hitting it, add another rocket, it's perfect. The battle between the fourth Raikage and Orochimaru just now can be called a cage-level battle. Super destructive power and super speed. Ordinary ninjas can no longer intervene in this level of battle. Since they didn't take advantage of the previous sneak attack, they could only watch the current battle. But just now, if the combat power shown by the fourth Raikage just now was at the cage level, then Orochimaru was definitely at the super shadow level. Because from beginning to end, he took complete initiative in the battle. The explosion was deafening and shook everyone. After the explosion, dozens of meters around the explosion point became ruins. In the ruins, two blue figures, one large and one small, stood among them, both of them still wrapped in thunder escape armor. However, the third generation Raikage looked solemn at this time, while the fourth generation Raikage stood behind him, breathing heavily. It can be seen that he is still a bit immature now, and his fighting ability is not yet at its peak. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes as expected. The defensive power of this thunder escape armor is really ridiculously strong. It can't be penetrated like this. Tsuchikage, and the Suna ninja. You won't just stand and watch the show, right? The third Raikage looked at Orochimaru with his eyes, but his voice was unusual. He originally thought he was just an ordinary Fu, but now the situation has obviously changed. This kid's ability is so weird that he won't die if he doesn't try his best. Although he didn't bother to besiege Orochimaru with several other villages, but their alliance with the other two villages was not that strong. What if he fought hard to the end and they reaped the benefits? So? He did not hesitate to drag the other two villages into the water. Hearing the voice of the third Raikage, Orochimaru directly dismissed Susanoo. Yes, that's right, you all come together, I too lazy to waste time. Boy, I admit that you are strong, but being so arrogant is not a good thing. You have sent so many people to ambush me, why are you talking to me this nonsense? Orochimaru smiled mockingly. Haha, 3 ninja villages ambushed me alone. You guys are really good enough. We have no choice but to besiege you. Onoki also flew over and said calmly, boy, if you want to blame your own village for not being able to protect you. Your death was expected by everyone. Orochimaru is a wizard, and everyone hopes to have such a wizard in their own village. But when this wizard appears in other people's villages, it doesn't feel so good. They can't get it, so they can only destroy it. What a welcome return! Seeing the 4 people surrounding him in a triangle, Orochimaru sneered. The third Tsuchikage? The third Raikage? Is the one on the opposite side the Suna ninjas Raza? You know me? Raza, who had just arrived, was stunned. The current Raza is only 19 years old. He is not the Kazekage yet, but is just a 3 good young man of Suna ninja. Although his strength barely reaches the cage level, he is as powerful as Orochimaru. Compared to him, it doesn't seem to be on the same level. Because he also plays magnet. And in terms of reputation, he is not a heavyweight. He is not famous at all if he is not the Kazekage. So when I saw Orochimaru, who is famous in the ninja world, he actually shouted. He was actually a little surprised when his name was mentioned. Seeing Luo Sha's surprised look, Orochimaru raised his lips. I've heard it once or twice. I am very honored. I feel honored to be able to unite the 3 great ninja villages of yours. Orochimaru mocked. Being besieged by the shadows of several major ninja villages, this kind of treatment is probably only Uchiha Madara during the 4th war, right? Orochimaru's sinister tone made Oniki and the 3rd Raikage blush. As a long-established man, Kage, it is indeed embarrassing to besiege a junior. But the strength that Orochimaru showed just now would not work without besieging him. Thinking of this, Onoki was about to say something, but Orochimaru spoke again. However, do you think that if we join forces, we will definitely be able to kill me? Onoki's eyes were sharp. Do you think you can survive with our combined strength? Even if your teleportation technique is very fast. Join forces? Orochimaru smiled disdainfully. Haha, let's not talk about whether you can achieve true synergy. In terms of numbers, I have always had the advantage. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a click. Orochimaru's back began to split, and soon split into 5 identical Orochimaru. This is... How can it be? Before Noki and the 3rd Raikage had time to be surprised, the 5 clones had already dispersed around and faced 4 people respectively. Then the white chakra quickly condensed, bones, meridians, armor, and legs. 5 Susannas in the 4th form. The Susanoo quickly condensed and then stood up. Each Susanoo was fully armed and had a rocket launcher on its back, looking majestic. In this way, wouldn't there be one more person than you? Orochimaru smiled. Would escape clone? This guy, will he still be able to escape? Would escape clone, a clone technique more powerful than ordinary shadow clone. Not only is it more difficult to see through than ordinary shadow clones, but it is also more stable. Because wood release contains huge life force, wood release clones can use many blood successor ninjutsu that shadow clones cannot use. For example, Sharingan. Another example is the current Susanoo. For a Kage-level powerhouse, the 4th form of Susanoo is actually nothing. When Oniki in the original book dealt with Uchiha Madara, with the help of the other 4 shadows, a single dust escape eliminated 25. Even before, one person could barely cope with 5 Susanos. But the key to the problem now is that the ninja who uses these blood succession limits is Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas. A ninja who has nothing to do with Senju or Uchiha. Isn't this a bit weird? He can actually use Sharingan and wooden release at the same time? Plus the magnetic escape from before. What is this guy doing? How can you use so many blood inheritance limits? Oops, no good. Onoki's expression changed, and he quickly flew away from the place. Boom! Susanoo stepped down with his foot, cracking mountains and rocks. Susanoo in the 4th form is not big in size, and only has one weapon. His combat power is at the Kage level. It's not that strong. Especially Orochimaru's weapon, which is a long-range rocket launcher, even more so. The movement is still so slow, how can it compare with these Kage in close combat? Let alone the 3rd and 4th generation Raikage. Even Onoki can easily dodge using his flying ability. But don't forget, Orochimaru was originally the one being surrounded. On the battlefield at this time, how could Orochimaru not be considered a disadvantage? In the field, 4 people started fighting with Orochimaru's 5 Susanos. The Raikage is very fast and has high defense, but if he wants to defeat Susanoo or attack himself, it will be impossible in a short time. Orochimaru's blood-red eyes calmly observed several battles in the field, muttering to himself. As for Luasha, this is not a desert, and his sand gold ability has limited effect, so he should be the weakest in the field now. Think about it. It is even more impossible to attack yourself, but your defense ability is still good. Therefore, the only person who can pose a threat to yourself now is Onoki. This little old man happens to be the type with high attack and low defense. Kill Onoki first. Orochimaru quickly made a decision. He is not Uchiha Madara, who has time to play with a shadow-level strongman? Buzz. Dust escape, the original realm-peeling technique. While thinking, Onoki dodged Suzanu's attack. Flying behind Susanoo, a huge cube energy block enveloped Susanoo. Dust. Release, a fusion of the three properties of wind, earth, and fire, has two effects of destruction and stripping, and it is superior to blood successors. The bloody ones above the limit were eliminated. The power was huge, enough to decompose any object. The energy block flashed with a brilliance and was almost directly broken down into atoms and disappeared. After quickly solving a Susanoo, Onoki could not help but breathe a sigh of relief and was about to prepare. Going to deal with the next one, he suddenly became vigilant. Onoki turned around subconsciously. Whoosh! Orochimaru with black sand iron wings happened to appear beside him. How did you get up here? Onoki's pupil shrank, but he didn't have time to think about it. He quickly moved behind him. Whoa! The kunao was lifted up against the corner of his clothes. Although it didn't hurt him, it scratched the corner of his clothes. The response was pretty quick. Orochimaru sneered, but he kept attacking with his hand. He waved his left hand. Countless small sand irons, like bullets, rushed towards Onoki. Magnetic release. Sand iron sheeture. Earth release, clay defense. Ta-ta-ta. Day. Countless sand and iron hit a floating earth wall, just like a machine gun shooting at the earth wall. What's going on with this guy, Nani? Onoki didn't say anything playful, his expression suddenly changed, and he quickly turned sideways and crossed his hands in defense. Boom! Orochimaru chased after him fiercely and appeared in front of him again. He caught the flying thunder god Kunao and kicked him on the arm, making a muffled sound. Onoki's arm was numb from the kick, and he flew straight for more than 10 meters before he stabilized his body. Space ninjutsu? Kunao. Looking at Orochimaru holding the flying thunder god Kunao in his hand, Onoki said with a look of horror, "Can you directly summon the Kunao in front of me?" As expected of Onoki, you saw through it so quickly. As soon as he finished speaking, Orochimaru jumped in front of Onoki again. But this time, buzz! The transparent cube energy block directly enveloped Orochimaru. Boy, don't underestimate the power of watching movies! Onoki shouted angrily. He put his hands together, controlled his dust escape, and was about to break Orochimaru into atoms. But at this time, he discovered that Orochimaru actually came out of his dust escape. Yes, he didn't use the flying thunder god to jump out, but directly opened a hole in the energy wall of Chen escape and got out of it. Onoki was stunned. This was the first time he had seen someone break his Chen escape in this way. Escape? At such a close distance, he had no time to dodge. What a pity! Poof! The kunao pierced into Onoki's left shoulder, and there was a splash of blood immediately. Onoki was in the air, flying backward quickly, trying to relieve the force of the kunao, but Orochimaru, who was holding the kunao, followed closely. I don't want to give it up. I feel like I won't give up until I stab this kunao in. Hateful, Onoki gritted his teeth, endured the pain in his shoulder, and reached out to grab Orochimaru's wrist. Orochimaru seemed to have thought of something, and quickly let go of kunao, flapping his wings and flying back. Raikage, Luoshat, this guy can't be killed, let's retreat. Onoki made a decision immediately. After saying that, he didn't care about Raikage and Raza. He directly pulled out the kunao on his shoulder, threw it to the ground, and quickly flew towards his camp. The power Orochimaru showed just now has exceeded that of ordinary ninjas. In the scope of martial arts, he felt that there was no need to continue fighting. Moreover, it was not worth risking his life for this kind of battle. Therefore, he immediately chose to retreat. Seeing Onoki flying away, Orochimaru wanted to catch up and kill him. He killed him, but suddenly found that Onoki's flying speed was much faster than his own flying speed? And this distance was already beyond the distance he could summon the flying thunder god Konoha? In this case, let's kill the Raikage. Orochimaru didn't hesitate and flew directly towards the third Raikage who was closest to him on the ground. At this time, the third Raikage had just beaten Susanoo to the ground and was about to see what happened to Onoki in the sky. But suddenly he discovered, Orochimaru's figure suddenly appeared behind him. This guy! The scarlet pupils turned instantly, and the kunao in his hand plunged directly into the back of the third Raikage. Stung? How can it be? Father! Seeing Orochimaru's kunao stabbing into his father's back, the fourth Raikage shouted loudly. His father was the third Raikage, known as the strongest shield and the strongest spear. A being who can fight hand-to-hand with the eight tails and withstand Orochimaru and Susanoo's cannonball attacks. How could it be possible to be stabbed by a kunao? Can this thing be penetrated? But now he didn't have time to think too much. Taking advantage of Susanoo's attack, he quickly rushed towards his father. Damn boy! The third Raikage shouted angrily, turned around and grabbed Orochimaru. Orochimaru hit the target with one blow and immediately gave up the kunao and flew back, not giving the third Raikage any chance to counterattack. The third Raikage's counterattack failed, and a burst of pain came from his back, which immediately caused the thunder chakra on his body to disappear, revealing the body inside. The fourth Raikage quickly stepped forward to help him. At this moment, Orochimaru appeared behind the fourth Raikage with the kunao inserted into the third Raikage. A flash of light flashed through the scarlet pupils, and the Kusanagi sword suddenly appeared in his hand, piercing the fourth Raikage's heart. Due to the angle problem, the third Raikage finally saw clearly how Orochimaru broke the thunder release armor, but unfortunately it was too late. The fourth Raikage was mentally unstable because his father was injured and could not dodge this sword at all. Get out of the way! Pfft! The ninja sword penetrated his flesh, and blood splashed out. The Kusanagi sword pierced his body easily. But the one who was pierced was not the fourth Raikage, but the third Raikage? Father! Orochimaru, you bastard, I'm going to kill you! The fourth Raikage shouted. His own father, in order to protect himself, was stabbed to death by Orochimaru. At this moment, his heart was extremely violent and he just wanted to tear Orochimaru into pieces. It's a pity that Orochimaru will not give him a chance. Kusanagi sword is drawn out, and the flying thunder god retreats. Everyone has the same speed, so who is afraid of whom? But at this time, it was on the other side of the battlefield. Raza, who used sand gold to block Susanoo's fist, saw the situation of the third Raikage and immediately realized that something was wrong. Raikage, retreat! This battle is meaningless. After saying that, he didn't wait for the Raikage to answer, turned around and ran away. The third Tsuchikage ran away, and the third Raikage didn't know whether he was alive or dead. What's the use of staying here? Waiting to die? Bastard, bastard, the fourth Raikage's hysterical roar. Walk! The third Raikage endured the pain and shouted to his son. Hearing his father's words, the fourth Raikage was very reluctant, but at this time he could only obey. Compared to killing Orochimaru, his father's life was obviously more important. So without any hesitation, he picked up his father and quickly ran away into the distance. Did you run away like this? Seeing these shadow-level strong men leaving, Orochimaru chased after him because he knew that he was alone. With the defensive capabilities of Raikage and Raza, if he wanted to leave, he would kill them himself. However, although he cannot be chased to death, for a moment, it's still okay. Orochimaru raised his lips. As soon as he finished speaking, the remaining four Susanos who had been knocked down stood up again. They took off the bazookas on their backs and aimed at the leaving Raza and the fourth Raikage in pairs. Whoosh! Whoosh! 4 rockets formed by chakra flew in 2 directions. Boom boom boom! Precise strikes, terrifying explosions. Captain Luoshat! Lord Raikage! The guards on both sides exclaimed at the same time. Orochimaru smiled, put away the wooden escape clone, and was about to say something powerful. Boom! A sudden loud noise attracted everyone's attention. Looking around, the entrance to the valley that was previously blocked was shattered by a punch. A woman wearing a white t-shirt and a purple coat was standing at the entrance of the valley, panting. Orochimaru, are you okay? Tsunade. With the appearance of Tsunade, the three major ninja villages also covered their shadows and quickly evacuated. The three great ninja villages besieged Orochimaru, but Orochimaru was repelled by himself? It sounds incredible, but it's a fact. The number of ninjas participating in this operation was not very large. There were only about 50 or 60 people in a village. Even the Kumo ninja, who was responsible for the main ambush mission, only made it past 145. Although the number is small, they are all elites, right? And there are shadow-level experts from each village. It is absolutely unprecedented for such a huge lineup to be used to ambush one person. But now, even with such a strong lineup, they still lost. The defeat was somewhat inexplicable, but it was a complete defeat. Who knew Orochimaru would suddenly be able to teleport? Who knew Orochimaru would have Mangekyo and would release? Who knew Orochimaru could break through the Tsuchikage's dust release and Raikage's defenses? All of this can be described as incredible. At night, on the top of the mountain in the land of frost. The bright moon in the sky shines on a wooden house on the top of the mountain. On the roof of the wooden house, a man and a woman were sitting side by side. Orochimaru leaned against a corner of the wooden house, looking at the stars in the sky with a contented expression. Tsunade leaned on his shoulder, looking like a little woman. What are you doing here? Didn't I ask you to stay in the village? Orochimaru said with a bit of complaint in his tone. Because in his plan, staying in Konoha is the best choice for Tsunade. What do you think? Tsunade looked even more resentful. You guys, you come to do such a dangerous thing alone. Why don't you tell me clearly? What if something happens to you? Have you considered me? How could something happen to me? Orochimaru said casually, and simply lay down with his head on his hands. Even if you really can't defeat them, there is still no problem in escaping. Orochimaru said very seriously. Don't say yes, just with the ability to fly and the flying thunder god, there is no way Orochimaru's life is in danger. After all, in the ninja world, there are really very few ninjas who can fly. Who knows what you think? Orochimaru didn't dwell on this issue too much. Forget it, does the third generation know that you are here? Forget about him. If it weren't for him, how could you come to such a dangerous place? Tsunade recalled also, if he hadn't told me the specific location, would I have come so late? Tsunade was also depressed. The third Hokage didn't tell her where Orochimaru might be ambushed, so she tracked him all the way. If it weren't for the huge noise in the battle between the two sides, she would still be running around in the Kingdom of Frost. I see. Hearing this, Orochimaru smiled nonchalantly. I think he did the right thing in this matter. Well? Got it right? Tsunade was stunned at first, and then became furious. Orochimaru, what do you mean, you bastard? Are you afraid that I will hold you back? I'm very strong, okay? Powerful, hee. You laugh your ass off, am I not strong? Tsunade said, raising her fist. Seeing Tsunade raising her fist, Orochimaru didn't even bother to pay attention to her. Tsunade is indeed very strong, but her strength is mainly reflected in the medical aspect. On combat effectiveness, she really doesn't look good enough. Whether it's Raikage, Onoki, or even Raza, they are not opponents that can be defeated by relying on strange strength. Hey, are you really not hurt? No. I don't believe it, let me check it out. Examine? Is there anything to check? There's no point in me lying to you. Right. Tsunade nodded thoughtfully, then lay in Orochimaru's arms. By the way, what are your plans for the future? Returning to Konoha? What do you think? Not going back? Then I won't go back either. Regardless of the outcome of this battle, when the third Hokage made this decision, it had already ruined the master-disciple relationship between the two. Let him go back and continue to work for the village? What nonsense! It's impossible in this life. But for Tsunade, Orochimaru originally wanted her to stay in Konoha. But not going back? You'd better think clearly. I'm a rebel now. I don't care what kind of forbearance you are. Tsunade said nonchalantly. Anyway, they went too far this time. If you don't go back, I won't go back either. Hearing this, Orochimaru couldn't help but reached out and rubbed Tsunade's head. Although I am very touched by what you said, but, have you ever thought about your brother? Younger brother? Tsunade was stunned. Brother Rope Tree? Yes, she would give up anything for Orochimaru, but her brother. So, you should go back tomorrow morning. Seeing Tsunade's appearance, Orochimaru persuaded. Although in the current situation, Sarutobi Hiruzen will not arrange an important position for her when she returns, but it is still better than defecting with him. Orochimaru's words are obvious. This made Tsunade hesitate. Good, okay, I listen to you. After a night of discussion, Tsunade had no choice but to agree to Orochimaru's request. She has a younger brother in Konoha, and returning to Konoha is indeed better than following Orochimaru. Hey, by the way, Orochimaru, why did you kill Kato-dan? Tsunade suddenly thought of this question. With the time of Kato-dan's death and the smell of blood on Orochimaru's body when he came back that night, Tsunade has 100 reasons to believe that Kato-dan was killed by Orochimaru. No reason, just to find a reason to set boundaries. That, so is the in vivo experiment. Didn't this third generation tell you? No. Then go back and ask him. What? I want you to tell me. You want me to tell you? That's okay, but I have to see your performance. I've always been good. Tsunade, the style of a cute girl is not suitable for you. You bastard, go to hell. The two of them were flirting and flirting. They didn't look like a couple who had been married for a long time, but more like a couple in love. Although they had only been apart for 3 days, it seemed like a long time had passed. Tsunade had too many things to say. I wanted to ask Orochimaru. Orochimaru said everything he could. The two of them spent most of the night chatting. Orochimaru defected from Konoha. This incident had already spread in Konoha the day after Tsunade left Konoha. Because this kind of thing cannot be hidden at all, and the third Hokage has no intention of hiding it. And he still gave Orochimaru the title of a traitorous ninja. The purpose of this is to let the village save face, and to tell other villages that Orochimaru and Konoha no longer have anything to do with each other. In short, everything the top management of Konoha does is for the good of the village. Many people don't understand Orochimaru's rebellion against the village, because Orochimaru's identity, status, and contributions in Konoha are outstanding. Why defect? Is there any reason to defect? I can't figure it out no matter how much I think about it. However, this kind of thing is a matter for the top management of Konoha and has nothing to do with those civilian ninjas. So even if many people knew the news, they chose to ignore it. Anyway, the matter is none of your business, just hang it up high and discuss it in private. Who dares to be an ordinary ninja? Of course, there are many people who care about this matter. In Konoha, in addition to Tsunade and Naoki, Uchiha Mikoto is also very concerned about this matter. Because not long ago, she had sex with Orochimaru. With a substantive relationship, it is natural to pay more attention to it. But Orochimaru didn't even say goodbye to her before leaving, which made her feel extremely uncomfortable. But fortunately, this discomfort only lasted for a moment, because she knew that she and Orochimaru had no emotional basis, and it was natural that Orochimaru didn't care about her. Besides, Orochimaru gave her 3 unique potions before. A few days later, the Hokage conference room. The 4 top brass of Konoha gathered together. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the information coming back from his hand and was completely speechless. The other 3 people also remained silent at this time. Danzo, in particular, had mixed feelings in his heart. When the top management of Konoha decided to sacrifice Orochimaru before, he didn't even dare to stand up to defend it. One is because Orochimaru really needs to make sacrifices, and the other is because it is difficult for him to clarify his relationship with Orochimaru. Orochimaru's sacrifice was inevitable, and there was no need for him to expose himself for someone who was about to sacrifice. Even if this person has brought him many benefits. But now, can a person survive facing so many people? It's not just as simple as surviving. According to the news from the Kingdom of Thunder, not only did they sacrifice many people, but the 3rd generation Raikage was seriously injured, and his life or death is unknown. How can it be? How much information did this guy hide from the village? It's incredible, Sarutobi, this. At this point, everyone was silent again. There were too many ninjas from other countries at the fighting venue, and they in Konoha did not have the opportunity to watch the battle, so they did not know the specific situation of this battle. But according to the news from Moon Ninja, they knew some of the results of the battle and information about Orochimaru. Facing an ambush from 3 villages, one person can not only survive, but also seriously injure the shadows of various countries. The life and death of the 3rd Raikage are even unknown. Orochimaru, so strong? Is it really worth it for Konoha to sacrifice such a person in exchange for a short period of peace? Is it possible to obtain the magnetic release, wood release, and Mangekyo Sharingan through research? The 3rd Hokage let out a sigh of relief. After saying this, he seemed to have aged 10 years. The conflicts between the 5 major countries should have been mutual. Either you hit me or I hit you. Because of Orochimaru's appearance, they temporarily cooperated. Konoha didn't have the courage to fight against 3, so they had to sacrifice Orochimaru. But no one expected that Orochimaru not only did not sacrifice, but instead defeated 3 great ninja villages by himself. This is simply an anecdote in the ninja world. Sand Ninja Village. Looking at the bandaged Luo Sha, Cho looked solemn. How did you cause your injury? Could it be that Iwa Ninja and Kumo Ninja broke their promise and attacked you? It's Orochimaru. Rasha covered her chest and forced her body to sit up. The temporary manager of Suna Ninja Village is still Cho, but Raza has already decided on the next Kazekage, and Chiyo's son is dead and has no interest in political affairs. Therefore, this time, it was Raza who went to ambush Orochimaru on behalf of the Kazekage village. But I didn't expect that. Orochimaru. Cho was surprised. Good. Luo Shan nodded. Although I have been wary of him and used sand gold to defend in time, the impact of the explosion was too strong. As Raza told, Cho became more and more surprised. Susanoo? Orochimaru is actually so strong? Why did Konoha hand over such a strong person to him? With such people around, even if 3 villages unite, they need to be carefully considered, right? Is this so? Cho shook his head and temporarily put all this behind him. Fortunately, your injury was not particularly serious, otherwise the village would really have no heirs. You should take good care of your injuries first, and leave the village affairs to me. Sorry to trouble you. No, this is how it should be. Cho waved his hand casually. Since Luo Sha's life is not in danger now, the biggest problem for them now is not the management of the village. Because as long as there is a symbolic leader, they are not afraid of being leaderless. So they are now the most worrying thing is not the management of the village, but Orochimaru's revenge. Originally, no matter how strong a ninja is, it is impossible to be an enemy of a large ninja village. After all, the chakra of a ninja is limited, and you can use it casually. You can trap him with something like a world, and then use a wheel battle to consume this person to death, But Orochimaru's would escape is different. Such a person has an absurdly exaggerated amount of chakra, and his recovery speed is also astonishing. Plus with such powerful fighting power, you want to consume him to death? Unless there is a ninja with the same strength and chakra capacity. Suna ninja is worried about Orochimaru's revenge, so are the other two major ninja villages. But they lost this time opportunity. I no longer have the ability to snipe Orochimaru. Because Orochimaru is no longer in Konoha village. In this ninja world with underdeveloped technology, if you want to find a person in the sea, you will undoubtedly find a needle in a haystack. And with Orochimaru with Maru's current strength, even if they could find Orochimaru, it would be of no use. 3 villages could not kill him if they cooperated, so what's the use of finding him? Therefore, they had no ability to find Orochimaru and could only wait for Orochimaru to come to them. And in order to prevent Orochimaru's revenge, they all began to study Orochimaru's abilities and find ways to deal with them. Revenge? That's for sure, but not now. In the residential area of Sound Ninja Village, Orochimaru murmured while lying on the bed looking at the ceiling. Next to him, lay Tsunade wearing only underwear. Originally, Orochimaru wanted her to go back the next day, but Tsunade wanted to stay here for a while, and he couldn't refuse. Your information has been exposed. Next time you face so many people, it won't be as easy as this time. Of course I know. Orochimaru said calmly. However, who knows whether I will research something else when we meet next time. And I promise, next time we meet, I will make them pay the price they deserve. Tsunade said lazily. Although I don't agree with you taking revenge, I can understand you, but, words from Konoha. Are you afraid that I will deal with Konoha? Orochimaru curled up his lips. He knew what Tsunade wanted to say before he finished speaking. That, after all, this is where we grew up. Tsunade didn't answer the question. Orochimaru has no sense of belonging to Konoha, but Tsunade does. Because Konoha belongs to the Senju clan, she grew up in Konoha. The first 2 generations of Hokage were her grandfathers, and the 3rd generation of Hokage was her teacher. Even if the 3rd Hokage was indeed wrong this time, his original intention was to protect the village. Therefore, if Orochimaru wants to take revenge on Konoha, Tsunade will definitely be the first to stand up and stop him. Seeing Tsunade's appearance, Orochimaru pondered for a moment, and then took a long breath. Okay, let me think about it. Thanks. There is no need to say these 2 words between us. I knew you were going to say that. With that said, Tsunade turned over and sat on Orochimaru. What are you doing? Do what you love. I don't want to move today. Just lie down and rest, leave everything to me. Although it wasn't the first time, Tsunade was sincere about the recoil. At least Orochimaru never refuses. Treason to the village is actually equivalent to treason to the country, and ordinary ninjas would not do this unless absolutely necessary. It is rare in the ninja world for a village to betray an individual like Orochimaru. Tsunade stayed in the Sound Ninja Village for 7 days, and after 7 days, she set off back to Konoha. Accompanying him was Jiraiya. Now that the 3 children are 11 years old, he no longer needs to stay here. However, Orochimaru and the 2 did not tell them what happened before Jiraiya, because they didn't feel it was necessary. Tell him that not only is there no way to change the outcome of the matter, but he is also suspected of gossiping behind his back. Of course, Jiraiya knew about this matter only a few days later. When he returned to Konoha and learned that Orochimaru had defected, everyone was surprised. He originally wanted to ask the 3rd Hokage, but in the end he felt it was safer to ask Tsunade. Tsunade also told the cause and effect without reservation. Jiraiya, who finally learned the truth, was not only unwilling but also helpless. He knew that this matter was unfair to Orochimaru, but he could understand the 3rd Hokage's approach. After all, he is the village chief, and everything must be considered from the village's perspective. By handing Orochimaru over, the war can be temporarily avoided, thus saving many lives. In other words, Orochimaru was right, so was the third Hokage, and the other villages were still right. Wrong, it's this era. So, come on, Nagato, drink this and let me see the power of your samsara eye. Although Orochimaru is powerful, he cannot rush to the enemy's village to cause trouble. After all, it was the enemy's base camp. There were some secret passages and enchantment seals inside, which were completely normal. With Orochimaru's current strength, he is not afraid of others, but seals and barriers are really unknown. In the ninja world, the most miraculous power is not the three arts of ninja, body, and genjutsu. It's not forbidden magic or magic, but the sealing technique. Sealing is a power that can be extremely unreasonable. Ninja strength does not need to be very strong to be used. It can be said that it is the most convenient move for the weak to defeat the strong. No matter how powerful you are, once you are hit by the sealing technique, you will only face the fate of being sealed. Even someone as awesome as Kaguya is helpless against the sealing technique, let alone Orochimaru. And Orochimaru thinks, killing some trash fish for revenge? It makes no sense at all. Therefore, after Jiraiya and Tsunade left, Orochimaru decided to lurk for a while before talking. Build up your own strength and army first, and then decide what to do next. As for how to improve your own strength, this seems to go without saying. Orochimaru now has the body of a sage, so his physique, which represents the power of life, does not need to be improved for the time being. Since physical fitness does not need to be improved, the only way to start is from the pupil power, which represents spiritual power. Orochimaru had previously obtained the genes of Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Obito. But these two genes are not direct relatives. Even if his own genes are added, it cannot make the spiritual power qualitatively change to the level of an eternal kaleidoscope. Therefore, Orochimaru is still unable to use the complete Susanoo. This was also the reason why he didn't fully activate his body to fight when he faced 4 shadow-level experts. But at the same time, he also knew that he was only a hair away from using the complete Susanoo. There is only a hint of truth. Orochimaru has many ways to add this. Any one of the 9-tailed beasts, the empty shell of the 10 tails, the senjutsu from Mount Myoki or Rika Cave, or even a pair of kaleidoscope genes will do. However, he had been doing experiments in Konoha before, and before he had time to collect these, he encountered the same thing as before, which was something he did not expect. Of course, the evolution of pupil power does not need to be gradual. As long as the genetic power is sufficient, it is entirely possible for the 3 Megatama Sharingan to evolve directly into the Rinnegan. Just like the Sage of 6 Paths. But after all, Orochimaru is not an Uchiha, nor is he the reincarnation of Indra, and the way to gain power is different from others. Even if he can perfectly integrate other people's genes, if he wants to improve his pupil power, he can only do it step by step. This is like a genetic enhancement solution, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Come level by level from low to high. It's okay to say that leapfrog fusion fails or has no effect. If there is some rejection reaction between the drugs, it would be meaningless. Therefore, when Orochimaru stayed in Konoha, although the potion to stimulate the samsara eye was prepared, he did not rush back to help Nagato awaken. This was the reason. Because his own spiritual power is not at the level of the eternal kaleidoscope. Even if you get the cause after awakening, it will be difficult to successfully integrate. This has nothing to do with genes. It's a problem with the fusion fluid itself. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Nagato took the potion and drank it without much hesitation. Now Orochimaru is their savior for them. Facing the savior's request, they have no doubt at all. A few minutes later, Orochimaru took Yahiko and Konan and stepped aside. Bang! The glass test tube containing the medicine fell to the ground and shattered. Ah! Nagato covered his eyes and roared like a madman. This potion is much more powerful than the potion Uchiha Mikoto used back then. Huge spiritual power pours out in all directions like substance. Although you can't see it, you can feel it. Nagato. Seeing this scene, Yahiko panicked and subconsciously tried to pull him over. Bang! A powerful repulsive force suddenly appeared, and Yahiko was ejected directly. Orochimaru did not move, but Konan quickly caught Yahiko with his quick eyes and hands. What a powerful force! Orochimaru said with a smile, "Don't worry, he's fine." After hearing this, Yahiko and Konan still looked worried, but they were relieved a lot, and at least they didn't rush to think about it. Nagato's Rinnegan was transplanted to him by Uchiha Madara when he was a child. The power is in a sealed state. If the power is not sealed, Nagato in the infant state will simply not be able to withstand such a powerful force. So Orochimaru needs to help him awaken. In the normal state, Nagato's reincarnation eye only became real after seeing Yahiko's death. Awakening. But now, although I don't know to what extent this potion can help Nagato awaken, at least for now, it seems that there is no problem with Shinra Tenzen or anything like that. As we all know, these eyes originally belonged to Uchiha Madara. Even in the later stages, Nagato was unable to exert the true power of these eyes. However, as long as the power is unsealed, Orochimaru can make it into a fusion fluid for later use. At worst, after the integration, other powers will be slowly developed on their own. A few minutes later, in the open space outside the Sound Ninja village, the frantic Nagato gradually regained his composure. Yahiko and Konan glanced at Orochimaru, and after receiving Orochimaru's consent, they hurriedly greeted him. "Nagato, are you okay?" Nagato. Without, "It's okay, just," Nagato was a little incredulous. "My power. Your body is not strong enough to fully support the power of these eyes." Orochimaru's voice appeared in time. "However, if it is just at this level, there is still no problem." "How does it feel?" A very powerful feeling." "That's good, just learn to control it slowly. If you don't understand anything, just ask me." Orochimaru turned around and returned to the village. "Thank you, Orochimaru-sama." "You are welcome." Orochimaru didn't even look back. At the same time, in a dark basement. The dying Uchiha Madara suddenly opened his eyes. Because he gave Nagato his eye, only one was left at this time. "What's wrong, Spot?" Feeling Uchiha Madara's mood swings, Baizetsu, who stayed next to him, was a little curious. "The power of the Samsara Eye has awakened." Uchiha Madara's low words made Baizetsu look surprised. "Has the power of the Samsara Eye awakened? How come?" Uchiha Madara was able to sense the awakening of the power of the Rinnegan, and White Zetsu was not surprised. Because the Samsara Eye is not only Uchiha Madara's own, but also has a unique connection with the heretic demons. How far is the connection between the Samsara Eye and the heretic demon? At least, it exceeds the distance from the moon to the earth. And now, the power of the heretic demon is connected to Uchiha Madara's body. Therefore, it is normal for Uchiha Madara, who is thousands of miles away, to feel the awakening of the power of the Samsara Eye. Only, at Nagato's current age, he shouldn't have awakened. Who knows? Uchiha Madara closed his eyes again. "Forget it, keep an eye on him. With his current physical strength, I'm afraid something will go wrong." "Okay." At the same time, the Kingdom of Thunder. The country has towering mountain peaks that echo with deafening thunder, hence its name. "Hateful, Orochimaru, I will kill you one day." In the infirmary of the Cloud Ninja village in the Kingdom of Thunder, looking at the third-generation Raikage lying on the hospital bed, the fourth-generation Raikage said furiously. In the battle to ambush Orochimaru, he was extremely frustrated. His father was not only beaten by Orochimaru, a sneak attack, and before leaving, Orochimaru's Susanoo also threw 2 rockets at them. If he hadn't been extremely fast and stayed away from the center of the explosion in time, if he hadn't been possessed by the thunder armor to block it after hearing the aftermath of the explosion, he was afraid that his injured father would be killed by the two rockets. But despite this, his father was still seriously injured after he came back. The kunai stab wound on his back was very deep, not only deep but visible bones, and the internal organs were injured. Of course, this is not the most important thing. The most terrible wound was caused by Orochimaru Kusanagi sword. A heart-breaking blow, it stabbed right next to the heart of the third Raikage. "Brother, how is your father?" A young man suddenly walked in from the door of the infirmary. The young man had dark skin, light yellow hair, wore black sunglasses, and carried two ninja swords on his back. Although his personality was a bit funny, at this time, he was extremely serious. The fourth Raikage raised his head and glanced at the young man. "There is no immediate danger to his life, but it will take some time to fully recover." "Orochimaru guy, does he really have this? Even my father." "Compare." The fourth Raikage interrupted him. "Although I admit it, Orochimaru, this guy." The fourth Raikage told the young man named Bai in detail about the battle situation at that time with a solemn expression. Extremely fast space jumps, Sharingan, wood release, and magnetic release. Every ability is extremely troublesome. Bai, his full name is Kirabi. He is the partner and adopted brother of the fourth Raikage, and is also the eight-tailed Jinchuriki of the Cloud Ninja Village. Although he and the fourth Raikage are not biological brothers, they have a friendship and understanding that is comparable to that of real brothers. Therefore, the third Raikage can be regarded as half of his father. The third Raikage was seriously injured, so he was naturally concerned. Although Kirabi is only a teenager now, he also knows how strong the third Raikage is. After listening to the fourth Raikage's story, he just felt incredible. So many people besieged Orochimaru, and he was actually seriously injured by Orochimaru? Just kidding? Moreover, Kirabi was even more puzzled when he heard that the fourth Raikage said that Orochimaru could stab the third Raikage's back with a kunai. Can kunai penetrate the defensive power of the thunder release armor? This is a bit more ridiculous than the question just now. You know, the defensive power of the thunder escape armor may not be able to penetrate even a small-tailed beast jade. Kunai? How to poke? The fourth Raikage also knew there was a problem, but due to the angle, he never knew what Orochimaru used to break his father's thunder armor. What method did Orochimaru use to break the thunder armor? In fact, there is no special ability, it is just the pupil power of his right eye. The space in the left eye is imprisoned and the space in the right eye is torn. Needless to say, the role of space confinement is that when the power is fully charged, the space stops, and instantaneous use can also reduce part of the movement speed. In the previous battles, Orochimaru had used this frequently. The space is torn, and the eggs are usually of no use except to store things. When fighting, do you want to tear someone apart directly? Just like Kakashi's Kamui, it's a bit slower. However, this ability has an advantage, that is, it can tear apart various energy barriers formed by chakra. And there is no need to accumulate force, it is just like tearing apart space, convenient and fast. Although it has no direct attack power, its auxiliary ability is ridiculously strong. Previously, Orochimaru was able to tear apart the energy barrier of Dust Release and Raikage's Thunder Release armor, all relying on this eye power. I have to say that the pupil power of the space system seems to be very variable. Although the ultimate distance of this pupil power to tear the energy barrier is only 5 meters, and it is limited to the energy barrier formed by chakra, it can be regarded as a magical defense-breaking skill. Barriers like barriers, energy armor, etc. can really be torn into pieces. Onoki's Dust Release and the third Raikage's armor also fall into this category. Although their energy barrier is very strong, it is still easy to tear open a hole or tear out a gap that can be attacked. The most important thing is that this pupil power can not only tear apart barriers, but also summon items. Being able to store items in different spaces can naturally release things from the space. He used this ability when he fought Onoki in the sky before. The Mangekyo Sharingan, where the eyes focus, opens the space, and then summons the Flying Thunder God Kunao placed inside. Flying Thunder God and Space Tier, the two skills cooperate with each other, just enough to achieve the ability to instantly cast Flying Thunder God without losing Kunao. If you use it well, you can completely surprise it. If Onoki wasn't an experienced battlefield veteran with an extremely keen perception of space fluctuations, he would have died the first time he used these two abilities to attack him. The only drawback is that the distance to summon Kunao is only 30 meters. Beyond 30 meters, the pupil power is not enough to open the different space. The different space cannot be opened, and naturally the Flying Thunder God Kunao cannot be summoned. Looking at the test tube in his hand, Orochimaru gently shook the liquid in the test tube. Next, the enhanced clones and the reincarnation of the dirty soil. The strength of the ninja who was reincarnated and resurrected from the dirty land is related to the sacrifice used. Therefore, Orochimaru needs to upgrade these sacrifices. Using clones as sacrifices is a bit wasteful. After all, only 100 people are produced here in half a year. But there are only so many strong men who need to use clones as sacrifices. So it's nothing to be stingy about. Enhanced cloning is very simple. You only need to make the first generation Hokage cells into an injection solution and inject it into the cloned body through an instrument. You can strengthen a batch in one day, which is convenient and fast. Strengthen the clone, implant new memories, and replace the filthy reincarnation sacrifices. Orochimaru was basically busy with this during the time he was in the Sound Ninja Village. Lord Orochimaru, Nagato, is it really okay? In the Oto Ninja Village office, Yahiko said with a worried look. Next to him, there was Konan wearing a purple flower. Nagato's power suddenly became extremely powerful, giving them an unreal feeling in their hearts. This power was too powerful. They were afraid that something would happen to Nagato's body, so they came to find Orochimaru. At this time, Orochimaru was discussing with Kana the future development path of Oto Ninja Village. Hearing this, he smiled lightly. Laugh. Don't worry, as long as he doesn't get too much mental stimulation, there won't be any problems. Whether it is the Sharingan or the Rinnegan, both require a strong physique to support it. It's just that the Rinnegan requires a stronger physique. Although Nagato is only 11 years old, the physique of the Uzumaki clan is there. Plus, the power currently awakened is not strong, so Orochimaru is not worried at all. Is that so? Yahiko nodded thoughtfully. They knew that Orochimaru was studying Nagato's eyes, but they didn't care. Because Nagato's body did not have any problems due to Orochimaru's research. And as the village's members, a member also has the responsibility to contribute to the village. Yahiko, is there anything else? Without, there is none left. Orochimaru smiled, then go down. Yes. Oh, by the way, when it comes to letting Nagato get familiar with his power, it's best to go outside the village, to the open space we visited before. Yes. Seeing Yahiko leave, Orochimaru looked at Kana next to him. How are they doing during this time? Lord Jiraiya was here before, it seems, very happy. Yeah? That's good, Kana, I'll leave the village to you. Sir, are you going out again? Orochimaru nodded slightly. During this time, Orochimaru hit the clone. Although the clone still couldn't use the powerful wood release, the cells in his body were enough. At least he could use the perfect filth. And all the people created in the future will be this enhanced version. The Oto Ninja Village is finished, so Orochimaru naturally has to take the technology to the orphanage. Half a month later, the orphanage. Nanoya didn't seem to accept it. He received the news of Orochimaru's defection, so he warmly entertained him. Orochimaru didn't care much, but during the subsequent inspection of the experimental base, he discovered a problem. That is, the speed of building his own army was too slow. 2 bases, the maximum number of people is 300 in half a year, 600 in a year. Only 6,000 in 10 years. Since the base at the orphanage was established later, there are only more than 1,000 people now. The 2 bases combined are only more than 3,000 people. This is still incomparable with large-scale ninja villages. Therefore, expanding the scale of production has become inevitable. But now that the talents in the ninja world are withering, there are still very few people who can be used by Orochimaru. In other words, so far, Orochimaru still had to rely on himself. In May of Konoha 40, Orochimaru decided to start research on human transformation. Human transformation is different from cloning. Human cloning uses ready-made cells, which are divided and then cultivated. However, a human transformation is a brand new life form. To be honest, in fact, it is more practical to study human transformation than to have a child directly with Tsunade. But when he was in Konoha, Orochimaru knew his situation, so he couldn't have a child. At the same time, he found an excuse to deal with Tsunade. Tsunade naturally wouldn't say anything. Therefore, the 2 of them have never had children. Now in this situation, it is even more impossible for him to have children. He does not want Tsunade to live in Konoha with a pregnant belly, let alone his son was born in Konoha. Therefore, he decided to study human transformation first. Because transforming people can not only accelerate growth, but also give them more abilities. If clones are mass-produced soldiers, then transforming people is the big snake. A general carefully built by Maru. Since he had already done a lot of experimental preparations for human transformation when he was in Konoha, it did not take as long as the first time to study clones. Konoha 41, research on human transformation. It failed several times. The reason was that Orochimaru cultivated modified humans according to the method of cultivating clones. As a result, the vitality increased too fast, and the experimental subjects died when they were half-grown. In the 42nd year of Konoha, Orochimaru finally mastered the method after repeated trials. After understanding the growth rules of the modified people, they began to cultivate them carefully. Originally, ordinary modified people were not cultivated by Orochimaru, but were spliced together with various powerful organs. The body is one person, the eyes are another person, and the internal organs are another person. Looks like this. But Orochimaru obviously disdains to use this method. Because the spliced cyborg is obviously not as perfect as the one cultivated. With Orochimaru's current technology, every organ of the cyborg cultivated is extremely powerful. Konoha 43. Orphanage. After the lights went out in the orphanage at 9 o'clock in the evening, Orochimaru appeared in the front yard of the orphanage. Lord Daimaru. Nanoya greeted him respectfully. She was still dressed like the dean. Wearing myopia glasses, she was gentle and quiet. Orochimaru nodded. Nanoya, you have worked hard during this time. Sir, this is serious, a piece of cake. Nanoya smiled awkwardly. In fact, she didn't do anything. She only needed to go to the experimental base to inspect it every few days. The work can be said to be extremely easy. Orochimaru smiled, took out 4 potions and handed them. Gave her. This is for you. This is. I think it's become a little unsafe outside recently. This can help you protect it better. Better protect this place. Nanoya was stunned for a moment, a little confused, and subconsciously took it. Orochimaru ignored her, and after telling her how to use it and what she needed to pay attention to, he left the orphanage directly, leaving Nanoya stunned. It wasn't until Orochimaru walked away that she came back to her senses. Magnetic escape? He just said that he could use magnetic escape after using the potion? Nanoya has been a spy all year round. As soon as he came back, he asked Danzo to resign and opened this orphanage. Naturally, he couldn't know what happened in Konoha. It is even less possible to know the battle in the Kingdom of Frost. Therefore, when he heard Orochimaru say that using this potion would allow her to obtain magnetic escape, she had no other expression except incredulity. But when she came back to her senses, Orochimaru was already gone. So, that night, looking at the scalpel floating in front of her, she was completely confused. Is it really magnetic escape? There is no doubt that the potions Orochimaru gave her were 3 strengthening liquids for beginners, middle and high school students, as well as a gene fusion liquid that combined 5 attributes and the magnetic escape blood succession limit. With these 4 potions, you can acquire a powerful body, 5 chakra attributes and a blood inheritance limit in a short period of time. With such a powerful power, with a little practice, the strength can barely reach the shadow level. Speaking of the shadow level, I have to mention it. Shadow level is just a concept. It doesn't mean that if you have enough blood inheritance limits, your strength will definitely reach the shadow level. If you don't have good combat talent, if you add Sharingan to Mudun, you will be a waste. Although such people are only a minority, they do exist. But fortunately, Nanoyu does not belong to this category, otherwise he would not be able to become a high-level spy. Orochimaru cannot expose the genetic fusion fluid when he is in Konoha. Because based on his relationship with the third Hokage at that time, after the third Hokage found out, if he was asked to take it, would he be embarrassed to say no? Orochimaru didn't want to hand over such an important thing, so he chose to hide it at the time. But now, he is the rebellious ninja of Konoha, is a free man. He can decide what he owns and give it to whoever he wants. No one can restrain him, and no one is qualified to restrain him. He can let anyone have whatever he has. There are blood inheritance limits. Both Kana and Nono are doing things for him. In order to prevent accidents, Orochimaru needs to help them improve their strength. However, although Kana is from the Uzumaki clan, she is not a ninja, and Orochimaru has no time to teach him. She uses these abilities. So Orochimaru did not give her abilities. But Nanoyu is different. She is an excellent medical ninja, and she can use it well no matter what abilities are given to her. Of course, people's hearts are difficult tested, powerful ability, Orochimaru can't just give it to everyone. It's also impossible to give it too strong. Otherwise, if something happens, he can't control it. Advanced enhancement, 5 attributes, plus any kind of blood inheritance limit is just right. Orochimaru left the orphanage and began to pack his things after returning to the laboratory, preparing to leave here to find a place to build a new laboratory. Dad, you are back. Seeing Orochimaru enter the laboratory, a little boy who looked about 10 years old came over quickly. Orochimaru was very lazy, so the boy's name was Mi. Mi corresponds to snake. He looked like Orochimaru, a handsome young lady when he was a child. Pale skin, golden vertical pupils. The only difference is that he has short grey hair. Of course, these are not the most important. The most important thing is that although he is only 1 year old in real life, he looks 10 years old. He looks years old. And his memory and genes are all carefully configured by Orochimaru. Not only does he have the ability to think independently, but he also has richer knowledge and stronger combat power than clones. In his memory, he is not a transformed person, but a transformed person. He is the son of Orochimaru and Tsunade. The kind of biological son. Not only did he have a happy childhood, but he also received the true inheritance of his parents. Orochimaru did spend more effort to create him than a clone. Just writing this, it took him half a year to have a reasonable memory. After hearing C's words, Orochimaru patted his head lovingly. Well, you clean up, we will leave here early tomorrow morning. Yes, Dad. Dad? Looking at the little brat who went to pack things, Orochimaru felt funny in his heart. Do you think he has a son? And why is it so strange to be called Daddy? There was no words all night, and Orochimaru took him with him early the next morning. Zhu has left the orphanage with 20 clones. He plans to build this laboratory in the southeast of the Fire Country. Orochimaru is using cloning technology to create an army. Several major ninja villages in the ninja world seem to have forgotten the existence of Orochimaru and continue their fight for resources. The trigger for the Third Ninja World War was originally the Red Sand Scorpion killing the Third Kazekage, and then the Sand Ninja Village was the first to declare war on Konoha in the name of avenging the Kazekage. But this time, it was because Kumo Ninja declared war on Konoha in the name of avenging the Third Raikage. Because they believed that with Orochimaru's strength and scientific research capabilities, which fool would drive him out to die? Can the people of Konoha be fools? Obviously impossible. Therefore, they felt that it was entirely possible that Orochimaru's defection was just a cover for Konoha, and the purpose was just to transfer Orochimaru from the bright side to the dark side. Cloud Ninja had doubts about Konoha because of this incident. But in fact, Konoha is also very innocent. Because Orochimaru also hid a lot from the village. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo didn't know that the abilities displayed by Orochimaru were just the tip of the iceberg. Therefore, faced with the doubts from the Kingdom of Thunder, Konoha immediately became angry. They don't even want to explain. The Kumo Ninja had disbanded their alliance before and forced the village to hand over Orochimaru and the others, who were very unhappy, and now they are still coming? Again and again, even a Buddha has fire. Especially the third Hokage, who was originally worried about the previous incident, but now he became angry when he heard the doubts from the Cloud Ninja village. You can fight whenever you want. Do you think I'm afraid of you? At this time, in the early days of Konoha 44, the Third Ninja War began. The Kumo Ninja began to attack Konoha, and Konoha also mobilized its troops to defend the Kumo Ninja. It's just that the people from these two big countries never imagined that when they stepped into the small country between the two countries and prepared to go to war, they encountered an unknown force blocking them. They all wear black cloaks and masks. Not only are they powerful, but they also have a lot of people. Both of their countries were stunned at once. Ninjas from other countries who have entered Tien country without legitimate means, please leave our land. The cold voice makes people very uncomfortable. After saying this, dozens of clones wearing Sound Ninja forehead protectors raised the kunao in their hands at the same time. Looking at the Tien country ninja who was full of chilling aura in front of him, Yun the ninjas tightened their grip on the ninja swords in their hands. Hey, this is a fight between big countries. What are you doing here to join in the fun? Get out of here. Warning first time. The clone's voice was emotionless. What? Yunren was stunned for a moment, then became furious. You guys, don't you understand human language? If you don't get out of here, believe it or not, we will destroy your ninja village right now. Warning a second time. Bastard, you're looking for death. Yunren was furious and drew his sword to kill. The target is aggressive, the enemy's identity is confirmed, and he will be killed without mercy. The target is aggressive, the enemy's identity is confirmed, and he will be killed without mercy.